We're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to call the meeting to order. It's the meeting of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Monday, July the 16th, 2007, right at 7:05 p.m. The invocation this evening will be provided by Pastor William Chambers, Sr. of the Church of the Nazarene, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, the Police Explorers, and Councilman Porter. Would you all please stand? Councilman Hodge, would you lead us with the invocation?
Let us pray. Most Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity for us to convene together and to come and fellowship with one another tonight. And Father, we ask for your many blessings upon the leaders of this country. And Father, we ask for many blessings upon those that fight for the freedoms that we now share and we deserve. Father, we like to thank you for this city and its great leadership. Father, we'd like to thank you for everyone that's come today to share their concerns for their community. And Father, we ask that you continue to bless us and that you unite us for the betterment of this community, that we may grow for its successes. And many thanks. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's symbol?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Losner.
Here.
Councilwoman Bell. Here. Councilwoman Garner. Councilman Hodge.
Here.
Councilman Porter.
Here.
Councilwoman Waldman. Mayor Warren.
Here.
Motion.
Additions, deletions, or deferrals, there's none. Special presentation, Professor Lloyd Pilgrim Spooner. Dr. Spooner just recently moved to Homestead, and he just published a book on entrepreneurship, and I had an opportunity to meet him in my office a couple of weeks ago. And he had such an interesting concept that I wanted him to just briefly, not only to introduce himself, but to talk a little about his entrepreneurial program, and to say that we are proud to have him as a member of our community, and certainly any citizen that go the extra mile and write books and get books published. It's a pleasure to have him in and have him as a member of the Homestead family. Dr. Spooner?
I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for a very nice introduction, and the council as well.
I think we need to move.
The PowerPoint presentation.
We need to move? Okay. We need to move.
Before we go.
Not a good one staying here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The title of the book that I have just written with some extensive research with which dovetail on my experiences for the last 15 years as I worked in New York and the rest of the world, teaching small businesses how to start, how to finance, how to market, as well as how to plan. The book introduces startups to the basic first steps in starting a business, and that is any business. 11 steps are covered in the book. All the contents of the book will be discussed and highlighted at a Homestead Entrepreneurs Conference, which is slated for Saturday, September the 22nd at Miami-Dade College Homestead campus. It will begin at 8 p.m. and end at 4 p.m. The conference will include a book signing at 2:30 p.m. and is open to the public. We will begin the conference by highlighting the legal requirements for starting a business. Most small business people are not aware of federal, state, as well as local requirements that are needed, and you must consult with all three levels of government in order to be able to start your business in the right way. We'll be also highlighting opportunities in terms of starting a sole proprietorship, a partnership, a corporation, and a limited liability company. We will basically be explaining what those terms mean and how to get involved in those types of operations. Special licenses, permits, and regulations are required for various types of business. Start Creating Wealth from Entrepreneurship focuses the reader on starting and operating a small business, in particular South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, West Palm Beach, and Monroe counties. We will also be discussing forms of legal protection that are available to the entrepreneur. Copyrights, trademarks, and patents will also be discussed and covered by the speakers. Startup entrepreneurs often overlook this step. Federal tax incentives that are generally overlooked include deductions for startup expenses, bad debts, employee business expenses, entertainment, and travel, and deductions also for business use of your home. Entrepreneurs targeted for the conference will include founders and openers of small businesses, sole proprietors, business owners with no employees, part-time business persons, founders of franchise operations, and we do have them in Homestead as well, inventors, new venture creators, and persons operating a business from the home. A Miami Herald article in January 2007 said, Homestead has cracked a population milestone and claimed the title of being the fastest growing community of its size in the country according to U.S. Bureau of Census. New population estimates by the Census Bureau have put Homestead at 53,767 residents in July 2006, up 21% from the previous year. It's the first time the city has been officially recognized as having a population of more than 50,000. This represents a gain of over 21,858 new residents since the 2000 census, when the city reportedly had a population of 31,909. Business ventures in Homestead needs to get off to a good start. Among the challenges the city now faces with the new population influx is job creation. The city can finally focus on attracting businesses that have stayed away from coming here since August 1992. The Census Bureau calculated in June 2005 that there is a daily average of 2,356 individuals nationwide who go into business of the type that we are trying to attract for themselves, and the nation's number of businesses without a payroll climbed to 20.4 million in 2005. Some of these individuals just moved into Homestead and are entrepreneurs. Some of you might be here today. Let's take a personal inventory starting with you. According to the Census Bureau, non-employer statistics in 2005 basically calculated approximately 860,000 new firms nationwide were owner-type ventures. Those new firms were the typical business culture of bosses and employees increased about 4.4% over a one-year period. These businesses without paid employees, known in the business industry as lone wolves, have receipts of $951 billion and make up approximately 78% of the nation's current 26 million plus businesses, according to the Census Bureau. A national growth trend. Most of the new businesses, the fastest growing new industries that we need to pay attention to, were web search portals, 41.2%, internet service providers, 16.6%, nail salons, 18%, electronic shopping and mail order houses, 12%, recreational vehicle dealers, 12.1%, and landscaping services, 11.1%. Florida had a 7.6% growth rate of non-employer new firms. The book is useful for all newly arrived entrepreneurs as well as veteran business owners in Homestead and contain priceless information at your fingertips. Entrepreneurship is a driving force of the local, state, and national economies. During the past 15 years, businesses less than 5 years old have accounted for about 70% of the net job creation in the United States. The new residents of Homestead already have an infrastructure for business development. The Meek Center for Business, Miami-Dade College Business Program, Florida College of Business and Entrepreneurship programs, plus a host of other local, state, and federal incentives and resources are available to propel businesses in Homestead to success. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, please permit me to join you in declaring that the City of Homestead is now open for business. Millions of Americans have tried and have succeeded at entrepreneurship. Conference attendees will learn from those self-employed individuals and companies who are still working at entrepreneurship and the strategies that they have used to propel their businesses to success. We will also discuss financing that is available to businesses or to startups in Homestead as well. Sources of capital: family, relatives, friends, commercial banks, savings and loans, credit unions, loan companies. Planning and development districts, insurance companies, business brokers, investors, small business administration, that's the U.S. Small Business Administration, to name a few. The fundamentals of record keeping, which is very important to your business as it strives for success, will also be covered. Tax information resources, and some are noted here as federal publications that you need to pay special attention to, will also be discussed and information given at the event. Computer technology is an aspect of business that's very important as we embark on developing our businesses in a technological society. The business plan, Homestead Business Plan Competition, will commence at this event as we will be training the individuals on that day to start developing their business plan. Current potential conference sponsors include the City of Homestead, Miami-Dade College, Florida College of Business and Entrepreneurship. To order a copy of the publication, call 305-742-2215. Mr. Mayor, I thank you and the council for your undivided attention and the members of the community.
Well, thank you, Dr. Spooner, and I would certainly encourage any of our citizens out there that have an interest in going into business to join Dr. Spooner and the experts that will be at that conference. Take advantage of the resources that they'll provide and all the valuable information will be present at that conference. So, good luck. Thank you, Dr. Spooner.
Thank you, sir.
Item 5B is the Homestead Middle School Drug-Free Youth in Town Proclamation Presentation. Councilwoman Bell.
Good evening. I'd like Mr. Adrian Lopez to please join me right here at the podium. Thank you. Adrian Lopez is a member of the City of Homestead's Education Committee, and I'm the City of Homestead's Education Chair. And I went downtown Miami last month to do the installation ceremony for Defy It. And I was so impressed with the PowerPoint presentation that was given there by Mr. Lopez and the success of these students at this particular school. The presentation was wonderful. And so I want to turn it over to Mr. Lopez to tell you a little bit about this school, a little bit about these Defy It kids, and then I have a proclamation to present to this school and these wonderful kids. Mr. Lopez.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much, Councilwoman Bell, Mr. Mayor, Council, and the citizens of Homestead. Drug-Free Youth in Town, Defy It, better known by its acronym, is a non-for-profit small youth drug prevention education organization founded in 1992 right after Hurricane Andrew. Defy It traces its roots all the way back to Homestead because Homestead was instrumental with the forming of Defy It. Defy It was pretty much a grassroots startup made up of a lot of community sponsors, leaders in the community, and by the city as well. It was also with the help of the Homestead Police Department under when Mr. Kurt Ivey was the police chief. Mr. Ivey, thank you very much. My co-founder, Marlene Josephsberg, wanted to say hello. She couldn't make it tonight. Ever since then, the Homestead Defiant clubs have grown from the very first club, which was at Homestead Senior in 1992. From that one club, we have grown to over 63 middle and senior high schools in Miami-Dade County, from as far south as Homestead to as far north as North Miami Beach. Today, I want to once again thank the council and Councilwoman Bell for recognizing a particular Defiant club right here in our own backyard here at Homestead Middle. The Homestead Middle Club is a very large club. It has over 120 club members, and over the past 2 years, these group of kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, have done over 8,000 hours of community service in our local community. Such communities such as Martin Luther King Jr. Walk, beautification projects at the Homeless Assistance Center over at the Air Force Base, and throughout Miami-Dade County as well. This school has also won School of the Year for Defiant Clubs 2 years in a row. And these kids have done an awesome job during the past 2 years, and we look forward to them doing a lot more in the community. The kids right here, I think we have 15 of them standing up. I can't take all this. All of you guys stand up. You guys get behind me. Come on. These kids claim to, as part of our membership requirement, they promise to do. They sign a membership contract. They promise to do community service as a part of as our pledge to be drug-free. We are the only youth drug prevention education organization in the Miami-Dade County public school system that does random drug screenings. These kids have a model. They're drug-free and they're willing to prove it. And we're proud to say that last year, all Defiant club members, over 7,000 within the county, have a 99% drug-free rate. And I'll turn it over right now to Councilwoman Bell.
And I have a proclamation to present. Drug-Free Youth, whereas Drug-Free Youth in Town, Defiant, is a nationally recognized community-based substance abuse prevention organization founded in 1992, and whereas the mission of Defiant is to support the development of healthy, productive, drug-free youth by providing drug information as well as opportunities to learn leadership skills through community service, activities, and community involvement. And the Defiant Club at Homestead Middle School completed 8,172 hours of community service over the past 2 years that included a cleanup at Biscayne National Park, a school beautification project at Florida City Elementary School, a walkathon supporting abstinence between strong teens, participating in the Homestead Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, painting First Methodist Church, along with various projects at Homestead Middle School. And whereas the Defiant Club at Homestead Middle has been awarded the Defiant Middle School of the Year Award, as well as the award for the most community service hours by Middle School Club for 2 years in a row, and for their exemplary participation in the Defiant program and encouraging their peers to live and promote a drug-free youth lifestyle. Now, therefore, I, Roscoe Warren, Mayor, well, I'm not Roscoe Warren, for Mayor, Roscoe Warren, the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, do hereby proclaim Monday, July 16, 2007, as Homestead Middle School Defiant Club Day in Homestead. Thank you.
My name is Leo Sharma, and I am privileged to work with these kids. And they put their heart into what they do, and they show us that kids are able to work if they're led properly. Thank you for recognizing them.
Let's give these kids a round of applause, and thank you for your work.
Don't be shy. I'll speak while they take their picture. Sure. Well, while this group take their picture, and I'm grateful for the proclamation and the recognition of this particular group. But also, I'm a board member of Defiant, and they do not get the recognition that they deserve. I mean, you're talking about really hard-working kids, a really great organization that instill moral and volunteer and hard work into their, it just really instills them to be hard-working young people. And I really wish that our community really grab hold of them, get involved, help them out, and just continue to encourage them to be the great individuals that they're becoming. I mean, I could talk all day on Defiant. I mean, it's a really great organization, and I just hope that the community can support them. And you know, we need some corporate sponsorship. We need individuals getting involved. And we need some checks to keep an organization like this going, because it's really great. And you know, everybody needs money, and I understand that. But you know, this is an organization that started here in Homestead. The middle school for the last couple of years, it was the high school 2 years ago that puts in thousands and thousands of community hours, and they really get out and do a great job with community hours and teaching these kids how to get involved in the community. And you know, there's a funding shortage in the state because of the federal, as we all know, and their budget was really cut, and there's a lot of programs that they have for these kids to keep them involved and keep them in a group that they normally don't get right now. And we need to really support them and put our arms around them. You know, those that can do it, you know, sponsor a group. You know, we have one in each school. We have one in Homestead High, we have one in Keyscape, we have one in Homestead Middle School. I think we have one in South Dade as well. So, you know, get involved, sponsor these schools and help them out so we can keep these kids involved in this good and positive atmosphere. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hodge. Real quick, because I know you guys have a busy agenda, and I have to take these kids off to see Transformers now. all about the skills, opportunities, and the rewards and the recognition. As Councilman Hodge said, I'm thankful for Councilman Hodge as well. He is a Defiant board member, and once again, we are a nonprofit. We fundraise. We also are state, local, and federally funded driven. So we live by the grant, and sometimes we die by the grant. Our services are 100% underwritten. They're free to the youth, they're free to families, and they're free to the schools. So any support that can be provided to Defiant will be greatly appreciated. We're 15 years strong, and we're going to go on for another 15 years with the public support, especially in Homestead, where we have close to 1,000 club members right here in our own backyard. So thank you very much. Thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor, Linda Bell, and Norman. Thank you very much.
Item 5C is going to be delayed, so I'm going to ask Ms. Maria Gaza to come forth and Ms. Rosemary Fuller.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. For giving me the opportunity to address the council on such an important issue in this community. And the issue is simple. For the past 40 years, Miami-Dade County Public Schools has provided services to the migrant farm worker children at the housing center operated by the Homestead Housing Authority. These educational services have helped the students succeed with their educational achievement. Because of the services provided by Miami-Dade County Public Schools, at the moment, because of those services, Miami-Dade County Public Schools has the lowest dropout rate of migrant children in the whole country. Unfortunately, we have a problem. The Homestead Housing Authority has failed to sign a lease agreement with Miami-Dade County Public Schools. Some of you may be aware of that. And I is why they deny these educational services to these migrant kids. Today, we have 10 portable classrooms that sit empty at the Redland camp and at Southern camp. The classrooms will be demolished, and I think that that's a shame. And what a waste also of the taxpayers' dollars. There's an answer, and that's why I'm here today. I know, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that you can do the right thing to correct this injustice. The community strongly urge you to persuade the Homestead Housing Authority Board of Directors, its Executive Director, Mr. Ed Carrera, to do the right thing for the kids and to sign the lease agreement. My comments are brief, but my request to you is a very serious one. We all know, all of us are a product of public education. I grew up as a migrant child in this community, and I can tell you that without the assistance of public education, I wouldn't be here. Many of the kids that have lived in that camp today hold master's degree. We have some candidates for a PhD degree. That is remarkable. And that's because Dade County Public Schools has a moral and legal obligation to provide educational services to these children. Mr. Mayor, please do the right thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't expect a response at the moment, but I do hope...
Well, I just need to ask you a few questions.
Yes, sir.
And one is, I know that they have a board of directors.
That's correct.
Have this request been presented to the board of directors yet?
Yes, sir.
And they denied you the kids the school?
I will be safe in making that assumption since their last board meeting was last month, and that letter to terminate the lease, it was after that board meeting.
Any other comments from you?
I just have one. I would be happy to talk to the board, but when you called me about that, I did go to Mr. Bob Jensen and I asked Mr. Jensen what's going on. And he said that there is a program going on, that they have found a program, not that's a better program than Miami Dade Public Schools, but they found a program with Barry University that they felt was a better fit for the kids. So it's not that this is what I was told now.
Right.
So that's not that there's no program, that there is a program, it's just not with the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, it's with Barry, I hope I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Barry University.
Right.
And so I'll follow up with that, I'd be happy to follow up with that, but I was told that there is a program, Barry University, that the whole board felt was a better fit for those kids. I don't know a lot about it, I don't know the details, that's just the answer.
Councilwoman Bell, just making the assumption that that is the case. I recently wrote letters of support for grants for Barry University, and we just heard from Adrian a minute ago, you live by the grants, you die by the grants. So that grant may very well, with a shortage in funding at the federal level, die pretty soon. So what's going to happen to those kids? Are we going to then be seeking grant programs when we know that an institution such as Dade County Public Schools exists? They're there already. They're occupying right now a vacant piece of land. We have 10 portable classrooms sitting there collecting dust, full of equipment, computers, classrooms. Teachers were sent home this summer, and kids are there without having anything to do. So, yes, ma'am, when you please pose the question, I will be interested in knowing the full details. Again, I have no interest in this other than to do the right thing. These children are not my children, but at the end, they're all our children, because they're going to end up doing the wrong thing when you right now have the authority to do the right thing. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, just to kind of piggyback on what Ms. Garza said, this was brought to my attention back in the early part of June, and as chair of the Human Relations, Homestead Florida City Human Relations Board, we did have this on our agenda for June, but then I got a call at the last minute because I think that the Dade County Public Schools, along with the Mexican American Council, felt that they could really resolve this issue. But I'm here to tell you that this is a problem that is escalating at that site. Right now the portables are closed. You've got a lot of disgruntled people that are afraid to come forward, and we need to really look at that. And I too have talked to Mr. Jensen. I've also talked to Reverend Chambers. I made a call to two other the board members. They may have called me back, but I'm very busy, so I did not get a chance to talk to them. But we are sitting right now on a real time bomb and a powder keg up there, because those units are closed. Those children are sitting home with 12-year-olds as babysitters, and this is just not what education is about. And I do believe that the Miami-Dade County Schools they have negotiated in good faith with the site leader, and they just don't seem to be going anywhere. This problem has been around now for 18 months, and the only reason we're here tonight is because this is our last chance, I do believe. And as you well know, I have never come to you with a problem from our Human Relations Board, because we've always been able to resolve it. But I've worked with this. I have not brought it to the board because, as I said, it was pulled at the last minute because, the parties felt that they could work it out, but it is just not working out. And I think that the last straw is that the fact that those portables are closed and not being used, and those youngsters are sitting home doing nothing. And if you read the Miami Herald last week, the Miami Herald stated that the program that is there now, whatever program is there, their idea of learning is water gun play. And notice I used the word gun. That's what the Miami Herald said. And I don't think that's what we are into, is water gun play in this neighborhood. We're into academics, strong academics, and every child that we can put a finger on or hand on and save as far as reading, writing, arithmetic, and now science, then we need to be doing that. Thank you very much for listening to us tonight.
Mayor, thank you. Question, Kurt, you may have to research the answer, of course. Certainly, I can only think of one other occasion in my 6-year tenure here where an issue regarding the Homestead Housing Authority has gotten as far as coming to the council. Could you brief us generally and quickly on what the legal relationship is, or the connection between the City of Homestead as an entity and the Homestead Housing Authority?
Well, legally, it's by name only. They happen to have Homestead. The only legal authority we have is the mayor, I think, appoints members to the board when there's vacancies are involved in that. But as far as operations, we're not part of the operations, or we have no say-so in their operations. Not meaning we can't support the issue, but just officially, we can't go tell them and say we have authority to tell them to do something. At the Homestead Housing Authority, we don't have that authority.
Well, it's been suggested to me that perhaps implicitly we do. In that, and again, I don't know, I've not seen the document, it was suggested to me by someone whose knowledge and understanding I implicitly trust, indicated to me that the board serves at the will and pleasure of the mayor. It's sort of a self-perpetuating board, and this mayor and council have not gotten involved. But I think that, if we find this is something that we need to look into, I mean, indirectly, we do have a say in those operations if this mayor, with the consent of council or not, has the authority to appoint members to that board, and that board in turn being the policy-making body for that entity. That's just something I think we need to know that.
We'll do some research to that end to see where we stand. I'll get back with you on that.
I think that's something we really need to know. Things have been going along well. There's been no controversy that's come before us. Maybe that's a role we don't want, but we need to know if it's a role that should we deem it necessary, that we can step into as a council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Any other comments? And I think as soon as we get a response, Mr. Manager, I know Ms. Bell, as the Education Chair, have been looking into this, that I think we need to send a very strong letter on behalf of the Mayor and Council to the Executive Director and to the Board that we have a very serious concern about it and that we want corrective action. I would hope that the attorneys could assist Ms. Bell and the manager in putting together a very strong letter to the members of the board on behalf of the mayor and council. And we need to follow up on this. I know the manager and I just several months ago met with some of the residents out there about some maintenance issues. And I think we got some of it resolved as a result of the manager intervening. So I agree with the Vice Mayor. I do think, based on the right of the Mayor and the Council to appoint board members, that we have some authority to do some things there. We need to move expeditiously and make sure it's taken care of.
I will follow up with this too, with the board, with Mr. Carrera, find out what is, what's from their perspective, and then see what's happening so that we can come back with a full picture, because I think it's always good to get the full picture of everything. So let me go back to them, back to Mr. Carrera, see what's happening from their perspective, bring it back to this council. I think, and I would say before we write a letter, we probably want to hear from that particular board of directors, see what their reasoning is, talk to them, talk to Mr. Carrera, and then come back and get the whole circle around this. And then at that point, I think if we still believe, and we very may well say, okay, let's write the letter. So I think we need to do our research and investigation first. And so if you'll allow me that, I will take care of that.
Councilwoman, I'm sorry, but one of the things that concerns me is that the time will expire, the school system will be asked to demolish those portables. Then next year we're going to find out that those programs that run out of grant money,
I'll take care of it right away.
Children will be without educational services, because I know that the taxpayers are not going to allow the school system to invest another $500,000 to set up the portables. Not the cost of just the cost of the portables, but the cost of putting them operational into migrant poor communities. We have seen that when there's poor communities, their voice is met.
Thank you.
Please, I urge you, the time here is of essence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Ms. Fuller, for bringing this to our attention, and I assure you that we will move quickly and intervening the best we can to get it resolved. And I agree with you, Maria. When I read the article and the insensitivity that you would shut down a facility where kids are learning, and there's nothing in the place of it. It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me, but not knowing all the facts, but I think it's very insensitive, and we need to do something very quickly.
Anytime you take away from a child the opportunity to learn, you're killing that community, not just a child. It could be anybody's child. We may have disagreements with Dade County Public Schools, but they have the responsibility, the obligation,
Absolutely.
by law, to serve those children. Let's not forget that.
And they're willing to do that. All right, we're on item 5D, Office of the Month, Office of James Kavanaugh, Councilman Porter.
Give this a minute to clear out.
Oh, I see where the numbers came from.
No, but she has to pass that.
Yes, yeah, it came that way.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, City Council, Mr. City Manager, I'm Captain Tom Foglia. We're here for our April Officer of the Month, 2007, Officer James Kavanaugh. Of course, we have Chief Al Roll, Major Scott Kennedy. Sergeant Sheila Johnson is in the audience. She's the one who nominated James. And of course, Councilman Porter. James has been with the department for several years, and this is a rather unusual Officer of the Month. A lot of times we give you statistics as to what they do on the job, but this is about what he did off duty. Back on April 14th, Officer Kavanaugh was out on a daily jog. Jog every day? Okay. Anyway, he was drawn to a citizen who was in quick pursuit of somebody. He immediately took action and gave chase, capturing the individual that the man was chasing. He started to do an interview with this individual, and he was able to find out that this guy had committed a burglary in his neighborhood and also I guess one of his fairly close neighbors.
4 houses away.
4 houses away from his house. So he immediately made contact with the police department. He directed units in. Apparently there was more than one guy involved in the burglary. He helped set up the perimeter. He got detectives on the scene. Not only did he get this individual into custody, and they caught other individuals, the detectives found out that this individual or this subject and multiple other subjects had committed numerous burglaries in Waterstone. And they cleared multiple cases. James did an excellent job, and this is just him jogging down the street. So we really appreciate the job that he does. Appreciate Sergeant Johnson nominating him. And again, it's a pleasure to have you a member of this department. And congratulations on receiving the April Officer of the Month.
Thank you very much. Well, I have the great pleasure to be able to stand here on behalf of the mayor and the council on a monthly basis and get to basically reward these officers that are chosen basically by their peers to be rewarded for the jobs that they do. Because it's really, they do get paid, but on a day-to-day basis, they go above and beyond the call of duty. In this gentleman's case, he was off duty. He was just taking his daily exercise, but still managed to foil a group of robbers. So, with the help of the business community, we do give out just small tokens of our appreciation in the form of, well, I'll read them. We have the award. The plaque is donated by Awards, Inc. Our city attorney's office donates a $100 check. First National Bank of South Florida is a $50 savings bond. Community Bank is a $50 savings bond. Ferguson's Jewelry donates a $75 gift certificate. Ruby Tuesdays does a $25 gift certificate. Global Technologies Partners, Inc. Does a $50 check. Logos Old Dixie Highway is a $50 gift certificate. Dale Blake at Blake Chevrolet donates a $300 value oil change, lube, car detail. Captain Car Wash also donates a $20 value car wash. Mita Jensen donates 2 memberships for the Homestead Community Concert, and Homestead Miami Speedway donates a $100 check. And we're very grateful to these donators of these small tokens. It's a big thing for the police officers. It's a small token for most of these businesses to do that, but we're very proud of our business community for that. And the plaque reads, presented to Officer James Kavanaugh, for being selected Officer of the Month for April 2007. Congratulations, sir. Well, I didn't expect all that. You have to excuse my voice, very hoarse today. I'd like to start off by thanking the city of Homestead. I have a great job. I love my job, and I have to thank Chief Roll and his command staff, Major Kennedy, who's here. They were definitely part of me getting hired 4 years ago. This is a great honor. Thank you very much. I also have to thank my fellow officers, because on that very day when I was doing my jog and I happened to run across one of the subjects, the successful outcome would never have occurred if I didn't have a quick response from my partners and then the follow-up investigations from the detectives. So I have to accept this award on their behalf as well. I want to thank my family out there, pretty large group. If y'all want to stand up. Too shy to stand up, okay. Thank you for your support, your patience, and it means a lot to me. I'm going to stop here because I'm going to lose my voice. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Officer Kavanaugh, let me say that out of all the ones that have gotten the Office of the Month, you're the sharpest dresser we've seen. Next on the agenda is, are you ready for it? Is the Recreation and Park Month Proclamation presentation. Councilwoman Wallman.
I hope it was for the Homestead Happy Curry. I hope you can buy it. Let's keep thinking that.
Good evening. Annually, Parks and Recreation departments across the country proclaim July as Recreation and Parks Month. Whether it be a youth program, aquatics, adult athletics, a senior program, summer camps, or just a leisurely walk, our Department of Parks and Rec offers many wonderful recreational opportunities and an enhanced quality of life for our residents. I'm reading my notes because I didn't want to leave anything out, but I'll just sidestep a little bit and say I'm so proud of our Parks and Recs department. They have done so much for our community. I'd like to ask Kurt Herron, Director of Parks and Recs. Are they behind me? Oh, they're behind me. I'm a magician too. And Omar for being here. They're going to help me out because, as you can hear, my voice has been gone for 3 days, and I'm having a hard time with a cold that I've had, so I'm sorry. There are some 2,000 children participating in local youth sports organizations. It's because of the gentleman behind me and your staff that our children play baseball in this community, that our children play soccer in this community, and our children have basketball courts and activities that occupy their summertime. Over 500 senior adults consider the William F. Bill Dickinson Senior Center their second home. The center is in the progress of being expanded, and we're very excited about that. We've been working on that for over a year, and there'll be a huge number of recreational opportunities added to the center. Thousands of citizens enjoy the city's special events with the 4th of July concert and the fireworks show. I didn't do it, I swear. And I guarantee you this past 4th of July was the best of all. Thank you, gentlemen. And I would guesstimate that we had probably anywhere from 8,000 to 9,000 people on the premises that night. I know the stands were filled, the parking lot was filled, all along the sides, people in their cars were watching the fireworks and enjoying the activities. Our parks are being upgraded and many enhancements are being added, such as basketball, tennis, walking trails, exercise stations, dog parks, and many other summer-type recreational opportunities. Mayor Roscoe Warren Municipal Park will be transformed into a 37-acre showcase facility. Just this past Thursday, the Miami-Dade County Office of Safe Neighborhood Parks recommended a $220,000 grant award for construction of the Children's Boundless Playground, a fully accessible playground system where all children can interact together. Over the past few years, the Department of Parks and Recs has secured some $7 million of grant funds for various projects. And that says a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Grants are hard to get these days. So with that, I'd like to ask Kurt and Omar to come forward and talk just a little bit about their staff and their program.
Thank you, Judy. I'd just like to take the time to thank the Mayor and City Council for your continued support throughout the year. You know, we've been working hard the last few years to not just create and maintain a park and recreation department, but a professional park and recreation department. And you are continuing to provide the resources to make that happen, and we would greatly appreciate that. I'd like to introduce Mr. Omar Luna, our Assistant Director for Parks and Recreation, who has a few comments and will name the individuals in our department.
First and foremost, I would like to thank the Mayor and Council for the opportunity to recognize our team for their hard work and dedication. And also like to thank City Management for allowing us to continue our special events and the programming that we've already established and to continue growing. Just please allow me a couple of minutes to honor our Parks and Recreation team. Our first group of individuals, facility attendants, we have Tanya Williams, Dwight Whipple, David LaGuardia, Wilhelm Destin, Jean Joseph, Bernio Montanard, and Jackie Pilkington. We have recreation aides who are Jamar Carter, Crystal Harris, and Christopher Villaranga. Our recreation leaders are James Laurent, Joe Perenzino, Ginny Velarde, Spence Crawford, Lemmy Delaford, Joseph Edner, and Anthony Braggs. Our trustee services specialist is Alvin Smith, better known as Smitty. Our labor is Leroy Smith. Our equipment operators are John Thomas and Philip Anderson. Our equipment operator twos are Michael Hayes, Ralph Mizell, and Emerson Moss. Our parts repair specialists are Nathan Burkett and Todd Cooper. Our foreman is Gary Clayton. Our administrative secretary is Daisy Fernandez. Our administrative assistant is Jennifer Bravo. Our special projects administrator is Linda Ogden. Our recreation programmer at Five Corners Community Center is Travis Glassford. Our recreation service area supervisor at Five Corners Community Center, Roby George Park, is Anton Hall. Our recreational programmer at the Senior Center is Karen Garros. Our resource and events coordinator was Shannon Nazal, and I would like to recognize her because without her, our special events would not be where they are today. And the 4th of July is huge because of Shannon Nazal, so I would definitely like to recognize her. And very well deserved. And our recreation coordinator is Juan Ruiz, our park supervisor is Jeff Malley, and our director, last but not least, is Kirk Herron. And just want to say thank you very much, continue our support, continue to go to our events, and we'll be more than welcome to answer any questions and just give us a call if anything. Thank you.
And Omar, I don't think I brought it up here, but do you want to talk a little bit about the annual Parks Appreciation? Sure. We have an annual Parks Appreciation Day scheduled this month, so.
On the 28th of July, which is Saturday, we have our Parks and Recreation Field Day, which is to honor the month of July for Parks and Recreation Month. And basically, we're going to have a field day, which is going to have a variety of active games and quiet games. We're going to do a ton of programming like potato sacks, relays. We're going to do egg toss. We're going to do balloon toss, punt, pass, and kick. So it's just a fun field day. We're going to have a pie eating contest, a variety of different activities, bounce house. We thought about a dunk tank, but we couldn't find anybody to put in it, so we're not going to have that. We're going to have a rock climbing wall, so we invite everybody to go out there on Saturday, July 28th from 10 to 1 to have a good time with Parks and Recreation.
And now it's my honor if I could have both of you gentlemen step forward to offer you a proclamation. Whereas Parks and Recs programs enhance our quality of life by contributing to a healthy lifestyle, increasing communication skills, building self-esteem, teaching life skills, and providing places for enjoyment. And whereas Parks and Recs programs boost the economy, enhance property values, attract new business, increase tourism, and reduce crime, and whereas recreation builds family unity, strengthens neighborhood involvement, offers opportunity for social interaction, enhances education, develops creativity, and promotes cultural diversity, and whereas our parks and trails ensure ecological beauty, provide space to enjoy nature, help maintain clean air and water, preserve plant and animal wildlife, and whereas recreation, recreation and leisure education are essential to the rehabilitation of individuals who have been ill or disabled, and whereas the National Recs and Parks Association, the Florida Recreation and Park Association, and the state of Florida designated July as Recreation and Parks Month. Now therefore I, and I'm not Mayor Roscoe Warren either, but I, Roscoe Warren, and the City Council and the City of Homestead of Florida do proclaim July 27th as Recreation and Parks Month and the Day of the City of Homestead. So congratulations. I had to drag him up here so he doesn't talk. Do you want to get a quick picture? We can put it in our Parks and Rec. No, no. I don't think we're in the best place right here, are we? We're going to just side. Thank you. I know I'm next on the agenda, Mayor, but I know that Fred Hurling and is Fred in the audience yet? No. So if you want to do the consent agenda, and then I'll come back as soon as they get here.
In the meantime, let me recognize Commissioner Shiver and Commissioner Benny Lovett from the City of Florida City. And certainly let me recognize our good friend from the school board, our representative from the school board member Evelyn Greer. All right, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Hodge. Is there a second?
Mayor.
Second by Ms. Wallman. Mr. Vice Mayor?
I'd like to pull item G, or at least 6G, or at least note my opposition to the adoption of item 6G, which is the loan,
Yes,
$2
sir.
million loan.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And before I forget, let me also recognize my aunt and uncle who's in the audience, Aunt Eva May and Mr. Henry Fruellen. Would you please stand? Now, since my mother passed away a couple of years ago, my aunt does most of the cooking for me, so she's...
And you're picky.
Yes. So we move on to public hearings. Could we go on to public hearings? Are you ready?
I don't see Fred in the audience yet, right? Mark, do you see, is Fred here yet?
Fred's not here yet.
Okay, Dan.
He'll be here momentarily.
Okay, we'll move on then and see what.
Public hearing, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is the quasi-judicial section of your agenda. Please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record, and persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any of the items on this evening's agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Me too.
Well, to err on the side of caution, I want to acknowledge that I have received numerous emails from concerned residents about the density portion of the application, which is item B, I believe, on the NOPC.
Tab 14.
Tab 14, encouraging to take a position in a certain manner.
Mayor, I as well, not only have I received many emails, but I've had many conversations with many different representatives of the public in the Keysgate area, as well as all over town. So it's been phone calls, emails, personal discussions, so I've had much discussion on this item. I want that on the record.
And I'd also like to put on the record, I've received numerous emails, many phone calls, and many of our citizens have left messages in regards to that issue, so I think we've heard you.
Mayor Warren.
Ms. O'Rourke?
Ditto. Say ditto.
Mr. Porter?
Same, Mayor.
Ms. Zahn?
I've been on vacation, so...
We've been on vacation.
I'm sure they're on my email.
I have the emails where they come to my phone, and I think I'm getting a phone call every 5 minutes.
Thank
It's
you.
a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, and everyone else for putting that on the record.
At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify in any of the quasi-judicial items.
Please stand and raise your right hand. I state your name. Hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you.
Item 7A is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Daniel Rizzoco for a rezoning from R3 Multiple Apartment District to B1A Professional Business Restricted District for property located at 171 Northwest 8th Street as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
So moved, Mayor.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Councilwoman Bell. Any comments from council?
Just one question, Mayor.
Ms. Roman?
The building that's on the property now, there's a building on the property now, that's a duplex, correct? That's going to remain, from what I hear?
This is a rezoning. If there are any changes to existing, they are going to come back to us with the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 7B is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the development order for the Villages of Homestead Development of Regional Impact, providing for the reduction of commercial acreage, providing for the reduction of office acreage, providing for an increase in recreation open space, providing for the shifting of residential units between sectors, providing for land dedicated for public purposes to be used for operating charter schools, providing for changes in school acreage, providing for the elimination of the hospital use, providing for a finding as to whether said amendment constitutes a substantial deviation, providing for conditions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Is there a motion for first reading? Is there a motion for first reading?
I'll make a motion for approval just for discussion.
I'll second it for discussion.
Been moved and second for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I could, the applicant's here to speak, but the applicant has informed us that they are seeking to withdraw the application, or a portion of their application, everything except for the school issue. The applicants can speak to that matter before you as well.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Alan Krischer, with offices at 701 Brickell Avenue, appearing on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined this evening by Michael Latner and Wayne Rosen of the applicant, Mr. Omar Armenteros, our project engineer, Hank Fondry, our traffic engineer, and my colleagues Juan Mayol and Joseph Goldstein. As the city attorney has indicated, this is a notice of proposed change to amend a DRI. As originally filed, this NOPC contains a number of different requests relating to adjusting the development program in and around the development of regional impact. It included among those requests modifications that would allow the choice of dedicating the school sites that are presently shown within the DRI to either a charter school or a school board school, together with a request to configure the parcel and modify the condition of the DRI-DO to relating to that school site. In the last few weeks, it has become increasingly apparent that this is an issue of paramount public interest. A great deal of discussion has been taking place. There have been a number of workshops before this body. In that event, we are withdrawing all of the other items included within the NOPC, everything except those issues relating to the school, so that the discussion, which has been on matters just in general terms taking place in and among the community and in among the members of this council, can take place on that very important issue with the consideration that it deserves, without dealing with any of the other issues that were relating to the DRI. So having withdrawn all of those other items, I'd like to turn over the presentation to my colleague Juan Mayol to go through those remaining requests relating to the school.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Juan Mayol with address 701 Brickell Avenue on behalf of the applicant. I want to thank you, first of all, and I have an opportunity to thank you the other night, on Thursday night, for the workshop. I think that one thing that was very clear, exceedingly clear out of that discussion is that all of the stakeholders, obviously the council members, the city administration, the residents of Keysgate and Village of the Homestead, as well as Mr. Michael Ladner and Mr. Wayne Rosen, members of the development group, have one interest in mind, one objective in mind, and that is to come up with the best alternatives to provide a school of quality as fast as possible. That is the reason why we have chosen to provide or to request a modification to the development order to provide another alternative to the traditional public schools that have been developed in the area. And I want to talk to you a little bit about charter schools and why we think that they're a good alternative, and give you a little bit of history about the relationship between the principals in the project and the school district. I've introduced into the record a handout that hopefully will make its way around to you. And that actually will give you a sense of why there's such reluctance on the development group to go the traditional way, to go with the traditional public school. Michael Ladner and Wayne Rosen represented them for probably about 15 years. And in those 15 years, we have had many negotiations, many deals with the school district where, as part of the development proposals, we set aside and dedicated land to the school district for the construction of schools. I went back in my memory bank and pulled 4 examples of dedications of school sites and what happened to those school sites, how long it took for the school district to actually build a school on those sites. And if you have the chart in front of you, let me just quickly go through those 4 examples. And I think that will crystallize the reluctance on their part to again deal with school district. Herbert Allen's Middle School, that site was conveyed on March 15, 1994. It opened in 1998 on portables. The permanent facility is not expected until January 2010. I should say that Herbert Allen's happens to be a great school academically, but it was developed exclusively on portables and it remains on portables to this day. London Childs Middle School, the site was provided by Michael and Wayne back in 1995, and that was actually done pretty fast. It only took 5 years for the school to open in a permanent facility. Norman Butler Balzer Elementary, that site was dedicated in 1998, and the school opened just last year, 8 years after the dedication to the school district. Jorge Mascanosa Middle School, The site was dedicated in 2002, and that school is now scheduled to open 5 years later this school year. As you can see, that's just an example of the relationship between the development group and the school district and what that relationship provided. Provided 4 school sites. Schools have developed, but unfortunately they were developed long after the development of the surrounding area was completed. As the discussion on Thursday showed, this is not an easy site. Now, that whole discussion, I'm promised not to go into it at all. The EFPD, where the site was filled with, it was contaminated, not contaminated, it shows that this is not an easy site. Our charter school operator, our chosen charter school operator, and you had a wonderful presentation by Mr. Zulueta. Again, I don't need to sing their praises. I think their track record speaks for itself. But our charter school operator has committed to start construction in December of this year, provided that the City Council approves the change to the development order, and to be open for business for next school year, 08-09. I happen to have the privilege of representing academic in many of their zoning applications, and I can tell you that I have been a witness to their work. I have witnessed how they make a commitment and they get it done. I have not seen any other company or any other entity build schools and operate schools, build schools so fast and build schools so efficiently. I have every confidence, and the development group have every confidence that they will do it again today on this site. After passing on this site initially through the EFPD efforts, the school district is offering, as communicated by School Board Member Greer, who's here tonight, I'm sure she'll address you, they're offering a construction schedule of 22 months. So 8 months for the charter school, 22 months for the school district. And that is only once they receive the site in the conditions that they have outlined. Those conditions will take some time to be fulfilled, because as communicated by their head of facilities, they would not take the site until the last monitoring well is removed from the site. Now let me say that I don't doubt, and we don't doubt, the school district's or the board members' commitment to the city of Homestead and to Homestead residents. Unfortunately, in our view, the system, call it bureaucracy, with all due respect, gets in the way of accomplishing great things. They have great vision. It's just that the bureaucracy doesn't follow through. Charter schools happen to be much more nimble. They operate a lot more like the private sector. And this is the one thing that private sector has shown the ability to do much better. They're just better suited to deal with sites with special situations. The charter school operator has made a commitment to come onto the site, to work on the site and start construction so that it can be delivered by the opening of the school year next year. It reminds me of the situation that the city of Doral faced some years ago when the schools were so overcrowded that they were sending kids to Miami Springs, and Miami Springs actually was in double sessions. And working together with the school district, after all, charter schools are sponsored by the school district, working together with the school district, Academic was able to open in very short order an elementary school, a middle school, and a high school. All 3 schools currently operate in Doral successfully. All 3 schools are A schools, and have done extremely, extremely well, and have relieved the overcrowding situation in Doral. Now, their nimbleness, if that's the word, does not sacrifice quality. And that is the reason why we have chosen Academic as the operator for this site. They have an exceptional academic record. You saw all those A's. I think there was 1 B. I'm actually told that the B would have been an A, and they're actually appealing the B because since the school didn't have an 8th grade, they have an 8th grade science test results, and they were assigned the average of the school district results or something like that, and that resulted in a B. That would have been an A. One of the things that they do well is to maintain discipline, to maintain relationships with their parents, to get them involved as a community school. One of the means that they do, one of the vehicles that they use is a parent contract. I'm going to ask Alan to introduce that into the record now.
Could I interrupt you for a minute, Mr. Porter?
Of course.
Mr. Porter, I have a question.
Of course.
I just wanted to put a couple of issues on the record. But we've been through the presentation a considerable amount of time, and we all are responsible, and we all live in neighborhoods, elected neighborhood seats, and it's only become fairly clear to the community that I am elected to serve that they don't want a high school in that location. Okay. They're not against a charter system, and they're not for a public system. They don't want a K through 12 there. In this NOPC, just throw this into the mix as we discuss this tonight. In this request for this NOPC change, I don't think it's an issue that we need another hospital in the DRI.
Right.
That's a 13-acre site that will not negatively impact the community that I live in. It's a 13-acre site that may be available for a charter school to be done immediately, which in this particular case is right down the road from Keysgate Charter now. It's on the end of Town Center Boulevard, more towards the edge of Kingman Road. So I'd just like to offer up in some sort of discussion, in order to appease and find some solid ground or middle ground where all the communities can get what they want, this community in the villages of Homestead would be sandwiched between Homestead High School, which is, as anyone that lives over there, is very much a problem for our community. Traffic-wise, speeding through the neighborhood, and the police department can't keep up with it. And so the feeling in our community, in the villages, is that we would be unduly overwhelmed with two high school systems within, stone's throw from each other, basically. So I don't think our community, the community that I'm elected to represent, is saying no to a charter school. But they're asking for the ability to not be negatively impacted by two high schools sitting right on top of the community. And I don't know if anyone up here feels that we need another hospital in the DRI. But there's a 13-acre site that may be available for a charter school immediately. And it would be farther away from the existing high school that's there now. So, in this discussion, I would just like for that to be part of. If there's a no answer to it, then just say there's a no answer to it. Sure. But I believe there is common ground. I believe there is an opportunity for the Keysgate community to have the charter system that it so desperately wants, and hopefully the villages of Homestead would be able to utilize that system as well, but it wouldn't be sitting right on top of the already existing Homestead High School. So can we please, as this dialogue goes forward, can we please just talk about that being a possible scenario? I know you've withdrawn that, right? But that's middle ground.
Let me address that concern, Councilman Porter, because we too have been communicating with the associations with the residents, and we've heard of the concern about a high school operation on this site. And the first thing that I want to clarify is that this would be a K, if it were to include a high school component, it would be K through 12. So what happens is that the high school component is a small portion of the total student body, whereas Homestead High School is all high school. So you feel the huge impact of having a high school, kids driving and the like. What we are doing tonight it does not in any way seek to set the grade levels. In fact, the anticipation is that the charter school would start operation with your blessing, God willing, from grade K through 9. And would simply grow over time. What we're prepared to do in order to appease and to address that concern that has been raised is to actually limit, and we can work on conditional language with your city attorney, limit the grade levels on the site to K through 10 grade. That would allow portion of the high school component, but not the full high school component here. This is before kids start to drive in later years, and also will be a much more limited high school component on this site. Unfortunately, the only site that's before us tonight would be the site where we're proposing the school. Your proposal of maybe looking at the hospital for a charter high school, something that we'll look at for a future application. But tonight we would want to proceed with this site with the possible condition of limiting the grades to K through 10th to address that impact that you have discussed.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just wanted to put that information out as something that we could discuss.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a question. You know, I'm very patient about most things, but I just find it very difficult that you representing the developer would come before the council to recommend what type of schools we should have in our community. I don't think it's appropriate for you to do that. Okay? But I'm going to listen to you. Because since 1976, that land had been dedicated, supposed to be deeded to the Miami-Dade public school system. Up until a few months ago when the EFBD was disbanded. We sold it to the school board, we sold it to this community. It's supposed to be a K through 8 public school. Now all of a sudden, the school system is the worst thing that ever happened. This charter school is the best thing that ever happened to Homestead. And, you know, I just have a problem with it. Now what, you know, you came before us to talk about the NOPC that I was hoping to discuss with you all, because this is something I think been planned for some time. But I don't think it's appropriate for a developer to come and say, well, we want Homestead to have even so bold to say what charter school should come in. It's not put out to bid. There's other charter school operators out there. It must be academia because, you know, they're supposedly the best. And you must have a high school there because you need one. And I can tell you, based on the demographics and the numbers I've gotten from Dade County Public Schools, we do not need a high school on that site at this time in the city of Homestead. It's not needed. If you look at the long-term plans, there's a mega high school will be built at the Homestead Air Base site, a mega high school. If the school system proceeds with the capital plan, you will have a 9th grade center that will relieve Homestead and Southgate Senior High School. And that mega high school at the base will take care of the needs of a high school in Homestead for years to come. So where you get your demographics that it's an urgency that we have a high school in Homestead, it just doesn't make any sense. I've not seen your numbers. I've seen the official numbers from Miami-Dade Public Schools. But the other thing is, you got a community there, the village of Homestead. They got a major high school to the south, Keysgate Charter to the east, and you want to put a mega school of 2,500 to 5,000 stations right there off of Farm Life Road. Well, I've heard all kind of numbers. We haven't gotten anything official yet. The bottom line is, I don't know if a community will have to take that kind of impact within a 1.5 mile radius. It's unfair to every neighbor in the village of Homestead. Every resident in the village of Homestead is unfair. And as the mayor of Homestead, I'm not going to support it. I'm not going to support that kind of impact in any community. This council have not yet talked about academia. It was presented last Thursday night without the council having a discussion as to what we would recommend this community should go there. But the city attorney was very clear last Thursday night. The law says that land must be deeded to Miami-Dade Public Schools. I have a serious concern about the arsenic, the contamination of that site. And we've asked you and the developers to allow the school system on that site to determine the cost to decontaminate that site. That have not been offered yet, have not been presented. He refused to allow them an opportunity to go on the site to determine the cost. It may be cost prohibitive to put anything on that site because of the contamination. I've gotten too many emails from citizens saying, we have been dealing with this dust. If that site is contaminated, Mr. Mayor, we have not been protected. And what are the consequences? So there's a lot of questions out there that need to be answered, but the most important thing is this community since 1976 made a commitment to Dade County Public Schools. It's in black and white. That land need to be deeded to Dade County Public Schools. And as Mr. Porter said, one of my discussion tonight, and he very brilliantly stated it, there's 13 acres in NOPC. Why not set that aside if there's folks here that want a charter school and if the developer want academia on that in Homestead, that's 13 acres that he owns. He can dedicate that for academia. Problem to solve. But that land there off of Farm Life Road, we got a commitment to Miami-Dade Public Schools, and we need to proceed. That was from the very beginning. And our community have embraced it. The sign is up there. A prototype of the school is there. There was no uproar in the community until you guys come forward and just say, well, we want a charter school there. I did not get one phone call from one citizen objecting to the public school there. The prototype that was there, it's right there on the site today. But now all of a sudden you made a big uproar trying to divide the community now because this is something that you want. But this council has not made that determination. And I just think it's just bold and arrogant that you would do that. It's not right, it's not fair. And when I'm told by the superintendent, we have a letter we put in the record today, there's $45 million available to build that school. And we pay a whole lot of taxes to the Miami-Dade Public School System. And I just think that we need to embrace that, put the school there. That was the original agreement that Ms. Greer in the back there fought tooth and nails. The Vice Mayor, Ms. Bell, we all stood before the school board and the county commission said we want a public school there on that site, under the umbrella of the EFBD. The EFBD is not there, but that public school designation is there. And I think we need to maintain that commitment, move forward, and if there's citizens in the community that want an academia, a high school, then that 13 acres in the NOPC can be set aside for that purpose.
Mayor.
We solve both issues. Ms. Bell.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is going to be a pretty good conversation again, I have to say. What I find very interesting, and I think if the community doesn't want a high school in there, I think we can work with that. I think if the community wants K through 8, K through 9, K through 10, I think we can work for that. I think there's some valid concerns. But I think that where the concerns come from, and by the way, I'm thrilled that this was pulled out of the NOPC and the rest of it gone away, because actually I was going to move that we pull this item out separately so that we can have a separate discussion on this issue only and separate that out. So I'm very thrilled that the item was separated out. Thank you for listening to the residents. And I'm listening to the comments that are made, and it says it's not appropriate to be told what type of a public school. Well, it's that we work with everybody that knows that we work with the school system for 3.5 years on this, and at the EFBD there was a lot of issues, and that just wasn't going to happen. The school board rejected the site. The school board said they didn't want the site. The school board rejected the site, and now the school board wants the site back. So that's very interesting to me. Now, why wouldn't we be discussing this? This is a valid item to discuss. We have Keysgate Charter School. We have Waterstone Charter School. I didn't see any bones of contention about those charter schools being put into place there whatsoever, and they're very, very good schools. They're B schools. Now, as far as I heard there was no uproar when we had the public school sign over there, and now there's a big uproar, and there's trying to divide the community. What is dividing the community is a great misinformation campaign that's being done. That's what's dividing the community. And we have been very clear, and there was testing done on the school. We had NELCO testing, and we've had complete testing on that site. We're in a remediation program with Durham to make statements like the residents don't know about the levels of contamination. It's already been determined there was very low levels of arsenic contamination. The first site is ready to be built on. Durham signed off on that particular site with the condition of monitoring wells on that site, and we were ready to build, and the school board said, no, we will not accept that site with monitoring wells until the monitoring wells are removed, which could be 5 years, which could be 10 years. So that's the reason that Academica came into the picture, because we were left with a site, we were left with a pad ready to build a school, and then that the school board outright rejected, said we don't want the site, and those of us that, and I know we have one of our members of the former EFBD in the audience, and who happened to be here on another issue, by the way. But what's very interesting to me is the school board really did outright reject the site, and now they want it back. And that's when Academica came into the picture, number one, to get the school that the community has been demanding and is answering the demand of the school. And I tell you, I don't think we would have this issue whatsoever. This would be a non-issue if the school board hadn't come in and said, stop, 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 and we want a 90-day, 30-day cooling off period, a 90-day cooling off period, we want a cooling off period, and there would be no problem with that. The uproar isn't because of Academica coming in. The uproar is because there's so much misinformation going on out there. And I think that's very good, and I think Mr. Porter made a good observation. If they don't want a K through 12, then we can put in a K through 10, and that takes care of the driving. Now, I want to say one thing that you didn't get to hear, and those of you that were here last Thursday's workshop, you did get to hear. But Academica, and I asked a lot of questions about this because I know the citizens are concerned, would be nothing like a Homestead Senior High School. There's very, very strict standards, very strict uniform policies. It's a public school. Charter schools are public schools, but as Mr. Miles said, run very much like a private school. A public school run like a private school. A lot of input from parents, a lot of parental control, and not only that, driving is a privilege in these schools. Not everybody has the right to drive. You can only drive when you're a certain year, and you can only drive as a privilege with a certain academic grade level. So I understand that. I also ask questions about the uniform policy. Once a child leaves the school in his uniform, he has to go home. They're not allowed to be seen out in the public walking around their uniform. So there's very strict guidelines there. But there is no, now there's an uproar and there was no uproar before. That's just not true. The contamination issue, we have a Durham letter that signed off on the ability to build on that first site. So just to make a comment that, there's serious contamination and citizens haven't been protected, that's just not fair. That's just, those kind of comments are just not fair, and they're just not accurate. So I would really just, plead with you guys to just listen to the whole, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story, and what we're trying to do. And I have to say, we got a letter from Mr. Rudy Crew today, and asking us to vote no on the NOPC. Well, I'm glad they pulled this out, because if they hadn't pulled this out, I would have had to vote no on the NOPC. But the one thing I would have wanted to vote yes on was the school. So now we have it separated. But what I have never seen before in my history, if this happened before, I'd like to know. I've never seen the superintendent of a school send a letter to a city telling its city council to vote no on a quasi-judicial item. I've never seen that before. So if any precedent is being set today, it's being set by the school board. And I think what's happening now is, with the budget crunch and the big tax debate in Tallahassee, the school systems are going to be hit. We know they're going to be hit, and we're sorry for that. And let me tell you, I've worked with public schools, private schools, charter schools in this community. I'm the City of Homestead's education chair. I'm not the school board's chair. I don't work on behalf of the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I work on behalf of the citizens of Homestead. So when I sit up here, I want to do what I think is in the best interest of the citizens of Homestead. Not necessarily the best interest of the Miami-Dade County School Board, but the best interest of the city. And I saw a presentation of beautiful, beautiful A schools, very strict standards, wonderful schools. And I'm surprised that we would even have this debate. It doesn't mean, and statistically, this is very interesting, but statistically, when charter schools are in with public schools, it forces the traditional public school versus the public charter school. The charter school forces the standards of the traditional public school higher, and those schools actually improve. Competition is a wonderful thing. That's what makes America go around. And what happens when there is no competition, standards drop. So Academica being involved in this is not a negative. This is a positive. There's no scheme. There's nothing going on here, except for a very, very wonderful plan. And I'm actually very surprised that the school board superintendent would tell us to vote no on anything. That just is shocking to me. If you want to be shocked, that's the one shocking item. I went to school in 2008, I went to school in 2009, 2010, 2011. And let me be clear that in what I read, and I reread it today, on Mr. Cruz's school plan and his vision, and the $45 million we're talking about, it's not for the village's site, it was for the Oasis site. I took another look at it today and reread it. The money was for the Oasis site, not for the village's site. And what I find interesting is I've been sitting here for just about 4 years, and I keep hearing from the citizens, schools, 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 and so I'm working really hard to bring schools, and now it's like, no, I don't want a school here, I don't want a school here. But I understand, I hear what you're saying, and I understand about when you're judging this school by Homestead Senior High standards. I completely understand that, I really do. And that's something we need to work on. And I think the best way to work on that is to get the villages of Homestead residents involved in this charter school company, Academica, and let them have input. So I think that I really support this change. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor and Mr. Hodge.
Thank you, Mayor. I too am pleased that the applicant withdrew the portion dealing with the transfer of units and so forth. We typically get our agenda packets late Friday afternoon and don't usually have an opportunity to ask some substantive questions until Monday morning. First thing this morning, my concern is that you have these two very diverse issues connected, and I was clearly advised that we as a council did not have the ability to bifurcate, to split the issue, that it had to be an all or nothing. So I'm glad that the applicant has removed that so that we get to have this conversation. However, so many times when we have what we commonly refer to as zoning hearings, both applicants and council members sometimes go too far afield of what's relevant or appropriate to discuss in a quasi-judicial matter. And I think maybe that's happened tonight, and I think we need to bring it back to what we really need to be focused on. In that if we do not approve this change as requested tonight to allow a charter school to be placed on a school site, which by the way does not preclude a public school, it is a supplement to the ability of a public school to come in. If we do not move that forward tonight, that precludes the ability to explore Mr. Porter's question as to whether or not a charter school is more appropriately placed on another site. And I think what it does, and we hit on it last Thursday, is that by approving this tonight, we as a city do not jump into bed with Academica. We do not commit to a site plan, to traffic flow, to numbers of students, or to grade levels. It gives us the ability to have that conversation in the future, either as to the site that's typically been under discussion or another site, and to also have the ability to continue with a public school site. Now let's put it in perspective. In 1973, or 5, probably started talking about it in 1973. Were you born yet, Norman?
I wasn't either.
There was no concept of a charter school, and the language that's always been written really only contemplated a public school system. This is really, the charter school is a fairly new animal. And I guess my point is that we need to get away from the specifics and realize that we don't get to talk about alternative sites for a charter school if this does not move forward. And I think we made it clear from this side of the table last week that if a charter school proposal comes before us, and it's really not our say as to who it is, but we have the opportunity with clear input and activism from all segments of the community, traffic flow, parking, stacking, site plan, appearance, numbers of kids, grade levels, All of those issues can be addressed and denied by this council in the future. So to cut off our nose to spite our face, having a view to a specific operator in a specific school, right or wrong, whatever may have been put out there, is probably not good business. Now, unless there's a letter floating around out there that I have not seen, the Miami-Dade County Public School System, through Dr. Crew, has still maintained that its proposal does not envision any building for any grade level or any number of kids on that site. And it is clearly contemplated that the $45 million public school would be transferred to a 13-acre site in Oasis. Now I see a 7-acre site in Oasis. Now what I see next are all the people from Oasis coming out and saying, hey, not in our backyard either. Because unfortunately, Keys Gate Charter School is a good example of a bad situation
For traffic.
from parking and stacking and getting traffic in and out of that. And I hope that we can pull our perception away from that and realize that the operators, our planners, and this council have learned from those mistakes. But I fear that if we're saying let them build on that 7-acre site in Oasis, we may be faced with that same traffic nightmare somewhere else. And I would tend to like to have the opportunity, and it's not saying that it will happen, it gives us a supplement to the situation we have now, but gives us the opportunity to review and either approve or deny a charter school somewhere within the DRI. You know, this is like people, the journey of 1,000 miles starting with the first step. And I don't want to read about that I'm in support of putting a high school in the villages of Homestead, a second high school. That is not true. You know, and I'm not going to try to do an Arnold impression, but, you know, listen to me now, hear me later. We have to go through, or hear me now, listen to me later, whatever it may be. There are many hoops to jump through and much opportunity for the people of this community and the villages area to have their input. And certainly if I don't see something that is acceptable to the community, I'm not going to support it in the future. But without this vote, we don't have the opportunity to examine that alternative anywhere within the DRI. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Any comment?
Mr. Hodge, yeah.
Mr. Hodge, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the first thing I wanted to, Vice Mayor brought it out, mentioning the name or the company of a charter school to present, I think is going a little bit beyond scale, is to, again, bring it back and look at the land change itself, and forget about, the companies, but look at, the ability to offer up a charter school or stick with the public school that's currently written in law. So that's the main thing that I wanted to keep with tonight, as well as where we different a little bit is the conveying of the site. And I'm reading here in section F, one of the changes that was made, and it's on page 9 in our packet here, on the second line, one of the changes that is made is, it says, well, I'll read it from the beginning. It says, the applicant shall dedicate to the appropriate governmental agency or convey an appropriate non-government entity for the purpose of operating a charter school in the case of school sites. So that does give the if and or on all sites. Yet, when you go down halfway, it says all lands to be dedicated to the school board shall be filled to flood criteria elevations and provided with water and sewer facilities for conveyance to non-governmental entity. So, in obviously it goes on to mention the Homestead EFBD, or the City of Homestead to satisfy the terms of this condition, the property must be conveyed, subject to declarations of restrictions of covenants. So it's kind of two-sided to me in a sense. In one section it's saying, give me the opportunity to have a choice, and then at the end down there it's saying, we're going to do a charter school, basically. So to me, it's taken away the opportunity at the end. And also on page, I think it was 5, where in the changes here where it says dedications, in the changes says, in order for the conveyance to an appropriate non-governmental entity to satisfy terms and condition of the property must be conveyed subject to declarations of restriction and covenants. So basically, to me, non-government means anybody but the government, which means it excludes the school board. Right now we know that the law states that it should go to the school board regardless. So basically, to my understanding, what we're here to approve tonight is the ability to allow you to do the charter school or continue on as is written to our school board. Knowing that the school board have that issue with with the contamination issues, and I've had parents, as a matter of fact, after the last meeting, I spoke with the parent for about 30 minutes because of their concerns with the level of contamination. And they were trying to get public information on it, and they were not obtaining that information, and they wanted to be able to obtain that. So just looking at that for a public aspect and the betterment of the public aspect of the whole situation, the school board obviously have a higher standard for the site of cleanup and for the safety of the kids and the individuals who will be in and around that site than what the charter school would have. Well, obviously there is, because the school board is saying we need to make sure it's clean, and the charter school is saying we're ready to go. So my thing is, for a public safety issue, I want to make sure that the same standards are basically set, because I wouldn't want to put no one at risk in the first sake. And for that reason, I'll probably lean more towards the way that it is now, just for the fact of making sure that safety is first in this scenario.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, may I address the councilman's question?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hodge, let me assure you that there are no two standards of safety here. The first thing that would happen if a charter school company was able to gain your support of the change, a charter school will be added as an option. The language that you read is intended to make sure that if there's a conveyance to the school district, that those school sites will be filled, and that those obligations are not going to go away. Now, if a charter school company was to build a school here, they would move from having to pull no building permits from the city of Homestead, such as the school district. We would have to come to you for a building permit. You would have to review our building plans. Durham would have to sign off on the building plans and the building permit. All the work that has been done to gauge and to remediate the contamination on that side is public record, has been filed with Durham. So anybody who's really looking for information can find it. It's all on file with Durham. The charter school operator is an entity that will be sponsored by the school district. The school district, I'm sure, will make sure that everything is done right. The city of Homestead would have jurisdiction over permitting. Durham has continued jurisdiction over the outside. So again, there are no two standards or a double standard being placed on that side. It's one standard, and that is to have the safety of the children first. If I may, Mr. Mayor, I our request is not born out of arrogance. I have to assure you that maybe boldness, but not arrogance. We are not arrogant. We are attempting to provide a choice that perhaps can lead to a faster opening of the school, and that perhaps can lead to a different and perhaps better educational experience. I'm ready to move forward with the discussion of the NOPC. I hear you loud and clear. I will not draw any more comparisons between a charter school and a traditional school. I do want to introduce into the record a couple of conditions that are intended to address some of the concerns that have been raised, and then we would ask you to take a vote on whether the charter school should be an option or not. So if I may proceed at the appropriate time.
Let Ms. Wallman ask you a question.
Well,
yes.
I'm going to ask the attorney a question.
Of course.
You might. James, at the last, were you here at the workshop?
I wasn't at the workshop, but you can address your question to Chad Friedman, who can answer any question regarding this item for you.
First of all, I don't think any one of us on this council are against schools. We all want schools, but I also know that we have to be diligent in following due process. It's my understanding from the questions that we asked of Susan, the city attorney, Susan at the last workshop, that it was very clear that since 1976, this land is designated to be deeded to the school board. Is that correct?
Not this particular property, but land has been
But there have been
dedicated.
changes throughout the...
Correct. Over the years, the locations of where the schools were to be located have moved. But this particular site has been shown as a school for a number of years.
For a number of years. And I think the question was asked, and even you, sir, agreed with me, that should have been deeded over to the school board some time ago, according to the legal opinion of the city attorney.
The opinion provided that the method upon which the dedication was to occur at the time of platting, but the actual dedication, the physical dedication to the school board was to occur at the time of building permit. So that time hasn't occurred yet. Such as what Mr. Mayol said on Thursday, is that the property could change hands 100 times, but at the end of the day, the property could not be used for anything other than a school, and under the current development order would have to be dedicated to the school board.
It's common knowledge that charter schools and public schools have a very good relationship, and they work together and have worked together for many, many years. I don't understand why the urgency to do this is now, because the school board has been granting access to that land since November. I believe it's November. Ms. Greer's here, right? I would like for you to address this as well. But they've been asking for access to the property since November, to my knowledge. Correct?
Well, actually, at the appropriate time, I'd like to address that point. It may take me a couple of minutes, so it's not just a simple yes or no.
Okay. It's very often that if the school board turns down a piece of property because they're not satisfied with contamination, they turn it back over to the developer. Is that not right, Ms. Greer? Where's Ms. Greer?
If the school board determines that it's too expensive, that doesn't occur on occasion, and would like to have access to that property, would you have an access for it since November?
So I don't understand why you can't let them go on the property, let them access it, let them do their testing, and then, there may be a perfect marriage there between the public schools and the charter school. But I just see this getting into a big lawsuit, and you're never going to have a school there. So, I don't understand. Why is there such a push here?
Let me address the...
When it probably would only take them a month or two, I don't know, to do their testing?
Let me address the two questions I think you're asking. The first one, why has access not been granted? I spoke to our real estate counsel earlier today, and she told me that she had sent back to school district staff 4 times an agreement to grant access to the property so that they could conduct their due diligence investigation. 4 times, the changes that she has requested on the document have not been accepted by the school district staff. To me, that's another example of the school district trying to use one-size-fits-all. They're using...
Yes, sir. It kind of sounds like he said, she said, I don't understand why you just don't let them go on there. Have them sign the papers today, tonight, tomorrow, hand deliver them.
If I may complete my answer, the environmental consultant that was retained by the property owner to conduct the due diligence was the school district's environmental consultant. They have had access to all the reports that have been provided by the consultant to them from the very beginning. We provided anything and everything that they wanted. They've gotten copies of. In this instance, right now, as we stand before you as council, we have made every effort to provide access. We are faced with a situation where we have a school operator that says if we can move forward, we will have a school open by next year. The best that the school district is saying is 22 months.
The lives of the children are more important to me than 6 months or 4 months. Right. It takes 1 month to 2 months to do the testing. And you are not allowing them access.
We have...
Our mayor, he sent a letter.
Councilwoman, I really believe that there's a total disconnect between the school district staff and
But you have the school board commissioner right here, I'd like to...
And the school board member, and there's a lot that goes on that is not communicated to the school board member. And again, I said in the very beginning, I don't doubt Ms. Greer's commitment.
We can fix that. And the lives of the children would be protected.
The lives of our children will be, in my opinion, will be better protected.
Well, I would feel better to know that there was somebody else doing testing on theirs, just like you did.
The testing actually has been done. The phase 2 was done by the school district consultant. The testing has been done by a reputable environmental consultant and submitted to DERM for review and approval.
How this picture looks, it just looks cloudy. It would be so simple just to, all of you go out there together. I mean, I don't care how you do it.
We've offered to do that. And through staff.
I think it needs to be done. And I have one more question to the city attorney. Why is it, if this is voted down tonight, why can't they come back just like they came back tonight and ask us to reconsider another site for a charter school? It's just, why can't they do that?
I don't think there's anything prohibiting that.
I don't think so either.
Any site that is designated within the DLI and the DO would have, right now, the way the language reads, and Councilman Lawson alluded to this, actually he was very specific about it, any school site, whether it's a hospital site or any other site, would have to be dedicated to the school district under the current language. So without your action tonight, that would be the only choice.
That you could come back at a later time and we could vote on it just like we're voting tonight.
But without the change in front of you, we will not have any other option of dealing. We can change it later. We can come back if you agree to the change, of course. Of course.
That's my point.
Of course.
There's no urgency tonight. The ultimate determination as to what will be on that site will be made by the mayor and council.
Of course.
So there's no, and that's my point. You've come to us as if there's an urgency.
There is.
No, not from the numbers I've gotten from School Board Member Greer and the Superintendent. Ms. Greer, would you come forward and share some? No, that's Ms. Greer. Ms. Greer, would you come forward? You're not looking at current demographic projections for the city of Homestead. And the school board have current demographic projections. So there's no urgency because we have overcrowding situations in the city of Homestead.
But we have schools.
Well, no, we have schools.
We have schools.
Well, we have political designation of schools A, B, C, D, and F. Those are political designations. Yes.
You're welcome to borrow my mic.
That's all we provide.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Ms. Greer.
It's a pleasure to be here again.
Mr. Lazo, please don't speak out of order. We want to speak, come to the podium. Okay? Thank you. Ms.
Thank you. This is, of course, my third appearance here. You work pretty hard on these issues, and I appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to simply answer your question quickly now and reserve an opportunity, along with the rest of the public, to speak when the time is appropriate. Homestead Senior High School is at 88% capacity. The growth in enrollment in this area of town has been flat for 2 years. We have built 8,000 seats in the Homestead schools over the past 3 years, which has eliminated all overcrowding in all of the Homestead schools. We have the new Southdade Senior High School opening this coming summer. We have a K-8 in Palm Glade. We have a K-8 in Silver Lake. We have the EFBD school, which was supposed to open this summer, had it been started on time. New elementary school, Southdade Middle School on the border of the UDB. We built 12 schools finished in the last 3 years. We have 15 more schools in the pipeline. I totally agree with Mr. Mayall that the record of the school system in building schools, 1994, 96, 98, 2000, was horrible. But I think if people had said, why isn't Homestead growing from 1992 to 2000 without understanding the reasons, they would have also been mistaken. Our record in the last 3.5 years has been exemplary. We're very proud of our building program. And as I said the other night, we're ready, willing, and able to build a first-class neighborhood school at that site and have the money earmarked. In addition, as you all know, we're opening a coral reef-style magnet high school of 800 students with an academic theme of medical arts at the old Baptist Hospital, which will take 800 seats from the larger high school at Homestead Air Force Base in an effort to build smaller, more personal schools in this community, and that will be the top magnet high school in Southdade, which we're very proud of. That's scheduled to open August of '08. We've entered into a contract with Baptist Hospital. It's been approved by the school board, and the money has been allocated. I'll reserve my time for later. Thank you very much.
Could you clarify one thing, everyone? Ms. Gree, I'm sorry. On the 39-acre tract, what's the intent of the school board on the 39-acre tract?
Our intent is, and we have budgeted, and we are prepared to build, starting immediately, our prototype K-8, which is a beautiful school. The picture is up on the site. All stacking is on site as required by traffic control. We do not stack in the streets. We do not stack anywhere else. All of those requirements will be met that the city will impose, and we are ready, willing, and able. We have a contractor. The contract has been bid, and we're ready to commence construction. I will point out, most respectfully, that the charter school that is supposed to be built at this site has to go through the classic charter school application process at the school board. We accept charter school applications in the fall. They are not voted on until the spring. No charter would be even administered, would be granted for this site until late spring, and I don't think anybody's going to start building until they're sure they have a charter. So I'll be happy to answer further questions at the council's convenience.
Let me have you'll have to go to the mic, sir. The Vice Mayor, then I'll have you.
Mr. Mayor. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
We're in the middle of a quasi-public hearing. I think we stopped Mr. Mayo in his presentation. I would ask that you allow him to finish his presentation and then ask him any additional questions before we start inviting members of the public up for the public hearing section of this.
Excuse me, I had asked just for 2 minutes from the gentleman. He said that that would be okay.
No, he don't have the right to tell you that. So let him finish, and then we'll proceed with questions from the audience.
I apologize for getting us off track.
Since Ms. Greer raised a couple of issues on the charter, let me address those. The academic, who happens to be the charter cooperator we've been talking to, just had the school district approved 5 charters in the last couple of months, and those schools are going to be open in August. So timing is not an issue. There's a lot of work to be done, and that's why there's an urgency to start soon. Now, the urgency is not just about numbers of seats. The urgency really is about the quality of the education and the choice that we want to provide to our residents. Now, there was no demand. There weren't enough students to fill that site, to fill that school. The school district would not be looking at building a 2,200 student station school at that site. They see the demand. We know the demand. We've talked to our residents, and they want that school tomorrow if possible. So that is the urgency. Now, let me one last point. A magnet school, by definition, is open to a county-wide audience anyways, and actually that's a good segue into my discussions of the conditions. At the Thursday's workshop on schools, Councilwoman Waldman brought up the concern, actually some of the other council members also did, about the ability of the charter school to limit or somehow provide a priority for attendance to the school to the residents in the area. What we're introducing into the record today, right now, it's two proposed additional conditions that will regulate the operation of a charter school if this council were to approve the changes to the DO. Again, we're talking about choices. We're not talking about commanding any one choice. Now, if the school becomes a charter school, we are agreeing in that the charter school would establish an enrollment priority for students residing within a reasonable distance of the school as authorized by Section 1002.33 Florida statutes. We are defining students residing within the Villages Homestead DRI, which includes Keysgate and the Villages Homestead. Students residing within those two projects will be considered to reside within a reasonable distance. We've talked to your city attorney. We've also brought for you examples of where that has been done in the past. It's been done throughout the county. It's been done in Doral. It's been done in Miami Lakes. We have a resolution from the town of Miami Lakes approving a charter school where actually it was done a little differently. They provided that 80% of the students, at least 80%, would be residents of the town of Miami Lakes. We also brought a copy of a charter school, of a charter, of a contract with the school district where the same type of language was actually approved by the school board attorney already. And in that case, the reasonable distance was deemed to be a 4-mile radius. So the preference can be provided. We're authorized to do that by law, and we intend to do that to make sure that every student residing within the Villages of Homestead DRI would have an opportunity to attend that school. Now, if we have 1,000 seats and there are 1,200 kids who want to go to that school, there will be a lottery for those 1,000 seats. And that's where the lottery comes in, Councilwoman Waldman. So that point has been clarified. I believe your city attorney has looked at this issue.
Let me ask you the question then. If you say there's more than 1,000 students, which we know that there are...
I just picked a number.
Okay, well, let's pick the right number.
Actually, we've been saying it would start as a 1,200 student station school, so that if there is more than 1,200, then you have to do a lottery within that universe of people to decide who takes those 1,200 seats.
Well, see, I'm still not clear because we had an opinion from our city attorney saying that you couldn't do a lottery. So I still haven't received.
I know you want to hear from them. I'm giving you my view of it. I think
with the lottery, let's say you're saying that you can put limits and you can draw a boundary.
Yes.
What you're saying.
Yes.
Our city attorneys are saying, no, you cannot do that. So the lottery would be anywhere in Dade County, Monroe County?
My understanding is that they're prepared to address that issue tonight and maybe give you a slightly different opinion than they gave you.
Yeah, and we've gone over all this so many times, so.
I'm coming to an end. I know you're getting tired of me, but,
no, I'm not tired.
But I'm almost there.
I want to work this out, but
we do too.
I just believe in due process.
We do too, and that's what this hearing is about. It's been noticed. We have an opportunity to be heard, and you have an opportunity to make a decision tonight. The second condition talks about the nomination or the selection by the city and by the Villages of Homestead and Keysgate associations of members to the Educational Excellence School Advisory Committee, basically the committee that regulates the operation of the charter school. And we want the city, the residents, and the charter school company to work together if those sites are developed for charter schools in the future. Those are two conditions, again, that have been accepted by other municipalities and by the county in the past. We're happy to proffer them into the record tonight. And let me close by saying that this application really is about choice. It's about not continuing with the past, maybe providing a different universe of choices that was not available in the 1970s, choices that are working very well elsewhere in the county and the state. Let me just ask Alan to come forward for 1 minute to close our presentation. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to reserve just 2 or 3 minutes for rebuttal at the end of the public hearing.
Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'll be exceptionally brief. Just to remind a little bit of the legal notices. The matter that's before you is a notice of proposed change. It is an amendment to a DRI, and the state statute charges this body with a particular standard of review for evaluating a substantial deviation determination, which is one of the things that you need to do tonight. The standard for that review is whether the change that is before you creates additional regional impacts that would require further development of regional impact, the full DRI review process. The nature of the change that's before you today is a request to add, as a possible option, that the school sites that are already in the DRI can possibly be developed as an alternative as a charter school in addition to the school board schools that are there. We respectfully submit, and your staff has reviewed this, the appropriate state and regional agencies have reviewed it, we respectfully submit that this does not create a substantial deviation. It does not create additional regional impacts, which are defined as impacts that affect more than one county. And so we would respectfully request your favorable consideration on first read and the approval of this application. And with that, we'll close our presentation. And again, Mr. Mayol is available for questions and reserve time for rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments from council? Any further comments?
Yes, sir, I have one. Well, I first want to kind of go over the lottery issue. Once the boundaries are chosen, whether they're small or large, a lottery is in place. It can be used at any time, regardless of the boundaries.
Well, sometimes a lottery is not needed. Councilman Hodge, for example, we've worked with a school where they provided the first priority to students within the residential subdivision. They sent a call for people to come in and register for the school. If there's seats left after that, then they would open the next set of priorities to residents of the city, just to give you an example. If you have more seats than students who want to attend the school, then you don't have a lottery. You only have a lottery if you have an oversubscription of kids for seats at the school.
Correct, and that lottery can happen whether the boundaries are small or whether the boundaries are big, based on the fact that, well, the scenario would be if you have a 1,200 student station, you have 1,500 registrants, there's going to be a lottery. Whether that boundary is small or large, if there's enough registrants, there's going to be a lottery.
Right. The point is that if you have a large boundary, then you're more likely to have a lottery, because if you're drawing from the entire city of Homestead geographic boundaries, you're probably going to have a lottery. But if you say only students, or the first priority is for students within the DRI, then you're going to have less of a universe of students who are able to attend that school, and you're less likely to need a lottery at first.
That's likely, but I don't want to leave the perception that it will not be. Less likely. That's a different word.
Right, less likely.
Okay. So whether the boundaries are small or large, there's potential for a lottery.
Right. I mean, you wish you could provide a student station for every single resident within the DRI, and when the school grows, that may very well be the case. But initially, you're probably going to have to restrict it to some people through a lottery, because you won't have enough seats for everyone.
And my final comment, Mayor, would be, I'm a bit frank about certain things, and the last comment was more of a threat to me.
Which one?
Basically it was saying legally we look at the application as a regional impact or not a regional impact, and you don't see a regional impact, so we need to look at it favorably. To me, when things come to me in that nature, it gives me a negative impact. And I think when you bring a conversation before me, and you're asking for consideration, to me, personally, I don't tolerate it, and I bring it out like it. I'm not political. I've never been a political person, and I don't do political, easements. I just let it be what it is, and be frank. And I don't care for officials to bring up, legal litigations and tell me what my legal position is. That's why we have a city attorney.
With all due respect, Councilman Hunter, I listened to what Alan said, and it was simply stating on the record what the criteria for the application that's before you would be. It is a request for a change to a DRI-DO, and the criteria really is whether it's a substantial deviation, which requires further review by the RPC and other agencies. So I don't believe that anything that he said was intended as a threat to anyone, but if that's how you read it, I do apologize for that.
Mayor, can I?
That's all I have.
Mr. Porter and Mr. Vice Mayor. Mr. Porter?
Mr. White, can I ask you a question? A couple of questions. Clearly, the intent is to get this particular site built into a K through, the initial understanding was it was going to be a K through 12 in the Villages of Homestead. That's what's been put out. It was going to be a K through 12. That's what the Villages of Homestead is concerned about, is it being a K through 12. Now, if it's not, using the Vice Mayor's position, do we have, what sort of leverage do we have to preclude a K through 12 going on that site if we were to allow this change in the DRI? Because clearly that has been the intent of this change, is to allow that site to be developed into a K through 12. Now, that's a substantial deviation. To me, it's in my backyard, it's in my neighbor's backyard, and they have specifically said that that's not what they want. But clearly that is the position that's being proffered up, is this site, the developer wants to be able to put a K through 12 there.
I think that the actual change that's before you is not whether or not it's a K through 12, K through 8, but the particular change is whether or not you would like a charter school to satisfy the dedication requirements for school sites within the DRI. Okay. So a particular school, size of the school is not being discussed at this time. It's whether or not you want to provide the alternative or the option to allow that type of facility to satisfy the requirement.
And at this particular point, what's being proffered or being discussed is really not a site-specific change.
Correct. It's generally within the DRI. So, for example, if, like you suggested, the hospital site in the future would want to be used as a school, this would be in place, if approved, to satisfy the school condition of dedication of a certain amount of acres to mitigate the impacts of the overall development.
The final question from our community basically is the fear of the long litigation or potential litigation process, because there is an apparent opinion that that site should have been granted to the public school system based on the existing DRI documents. Now, there could be a argument on behalf of the school board that the existing rule applies to that existing piece of property. What are the chances of, in my community's concerns, of this being litigated over an extended period of time, being left in the state that it's currently in, unclean, unmaintained, just sitting there basically as an eyesore. So there is a concern that we litigate this thing for years.
Well, I think first, Councilman Porter, I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about the potential for litigation at this point. I will tell you that the sites within the DRI have been moved around several times since 1976, and were moved around quite often in the last 30 years. So I don't believe the moving of the site itself would require, I think that's been done previously, and don't see an issue with that. As Board Member Greer provided on Thursday, over the years, the school board has been involved in the process and has determined which sites to be reduced, which sites to be moved to, and that forth. So I hope I answered your question.
No.
I apologize. I just don't think it's prudent to be advising as far as success in litigation.
Obviously, you don't want to commit to any sort of legal battle publicly on the record right now tonight. But is there a potential for a battle, a legal battle over the ownership or the granting of ownership of this piece of property. Is there a battle? Is there a potential battle? Or am I just wrong? Or are you just not going to tell me?
Well, again, I don't think it's prudent, but I will say that, at the appropriate time, that property today can only be developed as a school, and it can't be developed as anything other than a school unless there's some type of amendment made to the DRI development order.
I would love to see us have the flexibility to invite in charter systems, because I do think there is and with all due respect to the school system, we do an analysis of them of years past, because I remember in the early, I think, Mayor, in 97, 98, we as a city contemplated going into the school business. I think Steve Shiver was the mayor. We were so poorly treated by the school board, the school system, we couldn't get anything except the worst of the worst of the worst. We couldn't afford to do it then, and since that time we've been aggressively trying to figure out how to bring in schools, quality schools. Charter systems have been successful. The K-8s have been successful. I know they've been successful in this community. My concern is that piece of property, that we have ability to not negatively impact the community that it surrounds more than it already is by the, like you said, the high school that exists there now. That's what my community is afraid of. My community is afraid of a deal being cut and then there not being a lot of process where we can actually have a net effect on something other than the high school going there. So the process that we have still ahead of us will give all of our citizens and all of our council members today and tomorrow ample opportunity to debate whether or not we want a high school in that particular location, correct or incorrect.
Yes.
Well, if it becomes a charter school, or I'm sorry, if you were to amend the development order to permit charter schools to satisfy the requirement, the charter school would come before you and you would have the ability to weigh in. I believe under the current development order, if the school board were to take control of the site, the school board has the ability to decide the type of school and the size of school and et cetera.
And at that particular point, the city council or Homestead City Council does not get to weigh in or will get to weigh in.
For the school board review, typically that determination is not made by the city council. The city is consulted as to the reasonable impacts that a school will have in the neighborhood, but it will be a much shorter process that wouldn't come before you if it's a school board school. The process is different for a charter school, and it would come before you.
Okay.
But isn't ultimately the school board will even determine whether the charter school will exist? They will still have to go to the school board for approval.
That's correct. The actual charter is sponsored or issued.
So whether the city is involved or not, ultimately the school board will determine whether they would allow academia or any other charter school in the city limits, City Homestead. They'll have to make that final determination.
That's correct.
Mr. Mayor, if I may respond to Councilman Borders, just very briefly. First of all, I just consulted with my clients, and they would be amenable to a condition that would limit enrollment to K-8. Now, any application for the use of that property as a charter school would have to go through your site plan review process and would have to come to the council for approval. But I stated on the record today, for your benefit and for the benefit of the residents, that they would be amenable to the K-8 limitation, and we can work on appropriate condition language with your city attorney. Just to give you an example of the lack of review of impacts of public schools, traditional public schools. Just last month, the school district had an item before them, and that was the expansion of Braddock High School. Many of you probably know that Braddock High School at one point had like 5,000 student stations. Right now, I think the building has 3,500 student stations. The school district just voted to expand Braddock by adding over 900 student stations in concurrence within the Braddock campus. That was the decision made by the school board without any input from the county or any other jurisdiction in that area. So the charter school does give you a higher level of scrutiny as a city.
I have a question, ma'am.
Once if this passes tonight, then they have no obligations to the school board at all except to go before them to apply for permission to have the charter school, correct?
Well, if it were to pass tonight, it would go for a second reading before the city council first. And then beyond that...
I understand.
And I know, I just wanted to be clear for everyone else. And then beyond that, it would have to go before the school board to obtain the actual charter to operate the school.
I have no problem with any other site within the DRI, you doing this. But I have a problem with this, because this has already been, and it hasn't even been said tonight, this has already been put in a non-for-profit when you didn't have the right to do that. Yes.
I think that Chad indicated that we can convey that site to 1,000 different owners so long as the ultimate use of the property is a school.
But this is my opinion.
I understand.
My opinion is you didn't have any right to do that. And we didn't know about it until 2 months ago. And there's been money borrowed against this land and all these other things. And my point is, we know that there's arsenic on that property. Let the school board go in, let them do their testing, and they very well probably give it to you if it's too much arsenic. And then we'll have to deal with that at another time.
If I may, because I don't want to leave the impression that we're looking at the Love Canal here. This is a site that, in the process of removing...
I never said that.
No, but arsenic...
Well, let's not sugarcoat it. There's arsenic on the property.
As there is in every square piece of dirt anywhere in Dade County.
But let them go on and do their testing. That's all I'm asking you to do. That's all I'm asking you to do.
We are prepared to move forward tonight. It's up to you.
That's my answer. Thank
it's up to you. The school district will be made an option, and at the appropriate time, that may be possible to allow them access. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. Milo, I appreciate your client doing its vote count and proffering the K through 8. An issue there, it would seem to me that somebody needs to speak on behalf of the not-for-profit as the owner of the property whose development rights are impacted by that proffer, number one. And number two, perhaps that proffer should be specific to that site so as not to preclude, if the future merits such use, another secondary school site within the DRI that we can all agree upon that could potentially be used as a high school site. I don't want to foreclose a charter high school somewhere else in the DRI in the future. And finally, I'd kind of like to see, it was demonstrated by Mr. Larthen's memo in the conversation last week that you had, over a period of the last 30 years, there have been several different authors of these development orders and ordinances, and they all use conflicting language, and it talks in terms of timing of the transfer for the school site. I would like to see on second reading not only some more detail as to the proper limitations, at least as to that site, but some more specific triggers and timelines for the transfer of that site to the ultimate school user, whether it be public school or charter school. I mean, it's open-ended. It's been 30 years. At some point in time, we did have a shortage of classrooms, and that school site sat undedicated and unavailable. So, conceptually, I want it to move forward, but those are some of the things that I would like to have before us on second and final reading.
We'll be prepared to address every single one before second reading. Thank you.
Let me ask this to the city attorney. If the council reject this request, nothing prevents the council from approving a charter school in the future. Does anything preclude us from designating a site in the future for charter school?
You're talking about within the DRI?
Right.
No. As we all know, there's currently a charter school within the DRI. So a charter school can operate within the DRI. What this change is actually doing is providing that the dedication of school sites that's required by the developer would be mitigated by
will be fulfilled by the charter school being the
We
native
let
property.
everything stay the same. We have designation in the existing NOPC for school sites. We make no decision tonight on it. It does not preclude us in the future from coming back and saying, well, this site to be charter school, recommendation for charter school, public school, you name it. My concern is this. We were asked tonight to look at a change, a comprehensive change, and I was prepared to do that. I'm not going to piecemeal it, because my next concern is the residents that are concerned about the change. Would the developer be able to come back and ask for those major changes from commercial to residential? Are we saying this is gone forever?
What the applicant, and Juan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, has provided is they're withdrawing this particular application. They can always refile a similar application in the future, which provide for the same shifting as they provided tonight.
My suggestion, just to cut this short, we got a long agenda, that this council reject this request, and we start this process all back over again at some future date. That would be my recommendation. It does not impact the need for a school on that site right now. This thing has been made so complex because the original idea was a public school on that site, and in the last 6 months, the whole world have turned around. And I think it's unfair to the work that School Board Member Greer and the superintendent and others have done over the last 2.5 years to bring schools and opportunities to Homestead. That in the middle of the game, that the city of Homestead is going to make a change. That's not right. That is absolutely not right. This land has been designated for Miami-Dade Public Schools since 1976. And I don't think that we need to make a change at this time. Ultimate responsibility is mayor and council today or in the future. But this whole thing has been so messed up because of misinformation that has been out in the community for the last several weeks about the urgency of a K-12 on that site. And there's no urgency at all. None at all. And I just think that we need to not support this. I'm not going to bifurcate this request. It's all or nothing.
Mayor.
Ms. Bell?
Thank you. I'm very happy about the bifurcation of this request because it took out the part of the NFPC that I totally objected to, and I think the majority of the people here object to. So I'm very pleased that that was taken out, that we could actually separate an issue that I think is so important to us and reject the other part of the NFPC. So I'm very grateful for that. This is simply about school choice. That's what it's about. It's about local control. And there really is a need to go ahead and go forth with this particular non-substantial deviation to the DRI. And I think we need to go ahead and go forth with this, and I'm going to absolutely support this. And I'm always a little disappointed when I hear comments like this is unfair to the school board and unfair to School Board Member Greer and unfair. I think it's been very unfair to the citizens of Homestead who are wanting a school and been waiting for a school for a very long time. And without belaboring the details and going into more details ad nauseum with what happened with the EFBD, the bottom line is that site was rejected, the EFBD was rejected, we were rejected, and we came up very cleverly with an alternative to get schools for our community. And it's very simple, and it wasn't confusing, and it wasn't convoluted, and there really was no issue when we were rejected and the school board rejected a site and the school board rejected us. It was like, okay, we're rejected. What are we going to do now? Okay, let's go forth. We've got to do something with this site, and that's when the proposal came from the charter school. The only reason we're talking about the particular charter school is because this is the particular charter school that approached us on doing something with the site. They happen to be extremely high standards. And I want to be really clear on something. We keep talking about schools, and Vice Mayor Lawson alluded to it too. Charter schools didn't exist in 1973 with the formation of the DRI. They didn't exist. But I want to make a point very, very clear. When we had discussed the interlocal agreement with the school board, and the interlocal agreement was simply the City of Homestead the Dade County School Board, the county, and then the EFBD. Those are the parties of the EFBD. Schools 2 and 3, approved by the school board, approved by the county, schools 2 and 3 could be charter schools. And I was in the EFBD. The school board didn't have a problem with it. The Dade County didn't have a problem with it. The city didn't have a problem with it. And the EFBD didn't have a problem with it. And that was in that agreement. Schools 2 and 3 could be charter schools. So here we are now, and suddenly, oh no, can't do that. Well, that was okay then. This is about school choice. This is about you, the citizens, having a say-so in what goes on in your community. If you want local control, if you really want local control, you'll get it with the charter school. You'll be here every step of the process with the site plan. And I know we're talking about the NOPC at this point, but this does play a big part into it because you, the citizens, will have much more input with a public charter than the traditional public school. They're going to design it downtown and you're going to see it go up. That's it. You're going to have a lot of local control. And I'm reminded of a story of the new South Dade Middle School. And the citizens, I got some calls on it, what can you do? And I'm like, there's nothing we can do, that's the plan. And there was a couple of meetings about it, and 2 of the members of my church were telling me that they were having a meeting with school board members and discussing this issue, and they were told, don't worry, this is just in the planning stages. As they drove by the school every day, and the walls were up, and the buildings were up. Don't worry, it's in the planning stages, but the walls were up. That's what's going to happen. You want local control. Charter schools give you local control. So it's very simple, and I can't believe we're even having a debate that we're going to X out the possibility of a charter school, a public charter school. I can't believe that we've been having this discussion, quite frankly, with the possibility of giving our citizens A schools, good quality, smaller schools. 1,200 is great. It's not a big school. We've got a big 39-acre site that I'm afraid if we don't approve this, I don't think the school board already rejected the site. We want to move. We want to get something done for you, for the community. And I said it before, I'll say it again. When we say unfair to the school board, unfair to Member Greer, and with all due respect to Member Greer, and she's doing a great job, and she's working very hard to do things in all of the South Dade area. But our job is to work for you, the citizens of Homestead, and I want to think that we need to do what's best for the citizens of Homestead, not what's best for Rudy Crew and what's best for the school board member. So I would implore my council to allow this very reasonable change, which opens the door to top quality schools, and it just opens the door to the community. I don't even understand the objections. So of course I'm going to highly recommend that we approve this change, and I thank the developer for bifurcating the NOPC. I wrote about it. I was going to actually ask that we have a strike all provision except for that portion, so it saved me from having to do that. So I just would encourage my council to please vote for choice, please vote for competition, please vote for local control. Remember, we represent the citizens of Homestead, not the school board of Miami-Dade County. As the education chair and as the council people, we represent you, the people, not the school board of Miami-Dade County. Thank you.
Mr. Mayo, when was this NOPC application filed with the city? I mean, there's seemingly some allegation here that this has come out of nowhere and has been expedited, and...
No, it hasn't.
It was filed in February of this year.
Okay. So that's 5 months out, which is a normal chain of events for an application. It's just coincident. You know, I'm the guy that always said there's no such thing as a coincidence in Homestead, but that's within a normal time frame for any land use item.
In the city of Homestead.
In the city of Homestead, and I would guess that this was filed partially in response to a clear signal from a school system staff member that this site would not be accepted.
That's exactly it.
So, any indication that this is gotten some preferential treatment, been expedited, and is here under a sense of urgency is just not accurate.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, just one thing. Mr. Porter. Just finally, I'd like to say that there is an opportunity in the community at one of the previous education discussions. People said they would like to have both. I heard it from a lot of different people. There is an opportunity for us to have both, the public school system site And as the mayor just asked and the attorney just affirmed, that the city can have an additional site allocated for a charter system. So we really can have both. So there's an opportunity. There's people, the community is about half and half. Half would like to see a public school system and half would like to see a charter system. And that's the choices that we're all looking for. But there is opportunity here inside the DRI to do both, if you want both. And I think there is a considerable amount of people that want both. So if we slam the door, open the door, it's the current site has been designated for a public school site for a very, very long time. There is another area in the DRI that's designated to be a hospital. We don't need a second hospital. If we want a charter school, pick a portion of that and see if we can work with the developer and maybe make that work as a more suitable location as opposed to where this site is, which is very intrusive to the villages of Homestead. I think that's clearly an option that we have. It's not an all or nothing. It's not an either or an or. I think there's an opportunity for both to happen. If we just continue dialogue with the school board, if we continue the dialogue with the developers, school board has all of our tax money that we pay dearly. You pay more taxes to the school board than you do to the city, to any other entity. So it's just an opportunity for us to get some of that resource back into our community. I just think that the door is open on both sides, and I think the developer has the best interest of the community in mind when they're looking at a charter system. I have no problem with their vision and their opinion of the need for a better quality of education. I think we're all striving for that. But I don't think we need to forego a commitment from the public school system at this particular point, and I think that we have options. So, I mean, there's an even number of people up here, and so far, if you listen to the votes, it's going to go 3-3, and there's not going to be anything that happens. I think the attorney pulled Ms. Garner out of the room because she's got some sort of a conflict, so now we're basically at a stalemate. I think we're basically at a deadlock. So we can vote back and forth all night till we're blue in the face. Nothing's going to happen.
Can I ask one question, Mayor?
Yeah, I'm through.
To our city attorney. If this is voted down tonight, they can come back at any time and request the same thing with any school site within the DRI, correct?
I believe that they could refile an NOPC to change this language again without being precluded.
Again, all I ask is that you allow the school board to go on site and do their testing.
Councilwoman Wolfman.
That is okay. I mean,
just on the issue of if you deny this application, the doctrine of res judicata would apply, which means if you deny this application tonight, we keep on talking about you deny it, we come back another day. If we come back with the same application at a later time, the doctrine of res judicata would apply, and we would have a higher burden to meet.
Sir, in all fairness to both parties, if we pass this tonight, then the school board is out, pretty much, except for the permission granted to the charter school.
If you approve it, it simply provides another option for the sites within the DRI.
But you can do that anyway.
No, I don't have that. They don't have that choice right now.
You better ask for a deferral.
That's what...
Call the vote.
The applicant would be willing to defer it in order to allow the missing councilwoman to seek an opinion as to whether she really has a conflict or not.
So as long as the school board can go on site and do their testing.
There's a difference.
If they sign the appropriate documents which we requested, access can be provided.
If they would do that?
We've sent it back 4 times and they keep on sending it back.
I believe she's still here. Can we ask her?
Mayor, and you need clarification on your question because our attorney said, gave a difference of opinion about charter schools within the DRI. He said that they can't do it. Our attorney said that the city can grant a charter inside the DRI, so that needs to be clear.
Actually, my point was simply that if this application gets denied and 6 months from now we come back with the same application, the doctrine of res judicata would apply, and that request may very well be barred from proceeding, and Chad can sure address that point.
Yeah, if the council so chose, they could they could deny it without prejudice, which would allow you to come back before them. But what I hear from you as well is that there is a potential conflict with Councilwoman Garner at the moment, and if you would like to defer the item pending an ethics opinion on that potential conflict, if the council so chooses, they can grant you that deferral.
We would certainly be willing to do that. That would also give us an opportunity to address some of Councilman Lussner's points regarding the specific restrictions on this site.
I'll move for deferral.
I'll second. Been properly moved and second?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Greer.
We have a whole bunch of people that have been waiting.
Thank you very much. I would strongly encourage you not to defer this matter. It's really important for the school board to get moving on this site, build the school, and have the school open. We've had 3 public hearings on this matter. You've heard from everyone in your community. I was the mayor of a city, understand that these things don't get better as they move along. We would like to have on the part of the school board some conclusion, some resolution to this matter. You heard Mr. Mayall say that we could go on the property. We're intending to do that. I don't think he's going to impose any unreasonable restrictions now that he's heard the council's wish for this to move forward expeditiously. And I would encourage you to resolve this. I have many responses to many of the points. I think we had a pretty good workshop the other night. You know what we have said, both here, through me, through the superintendent, and through the staff. And I think that if we continue to delay the matter, we can't move forward in building a school, and neither can the charter school. The issue tonight is not whether to build a charter school. The issue tonight is whether to build a charter school on the land that this council has for 30 years said would be donated for a public school. The charter school can make an agreement with the developer to move forward on other land. We have 12 charter schools approved in the city of Homestead. They keep coming all the time. We have all kinds of schools opening up here over the next years and months. The question here is, you specifically set aside land in this master plan for public school, and we're prepared to move forward on that public school. If the developer wants to make an agreement with a charter school operator on another piece of property, the 13 acres that Mr. Porter was referring to or any other, they can come back before you for that zoning at an appropriate moment. But they don't want to do that. They want to have the developer satisfy his obligation through the donation of this land to a charter school rather than to a public school. We have charter school amendments coming before the school board every meeting. We want to make it bigger, we want to make it smaller. We want to go through K through 4, we want to go K through 8. We want to do 9 to 12, we want to do 1,000, we want to do 2,500. The state law does not give us the ability to control what the charter school does so long as it meets health, safety, and welfare. You may get a representation that the charter school is going to have 1,000 students, and it could have any number of students that fits on 39 acres. So I would encourage this council to recognize the obligation in this DRI entered into 30 years ago to donate a certain portion of land for a public school. The charter school wants to go buy other land anywhere else in the city of Homestead. There's land available because we keep getting those applications before us. I appreciate the opportunity to answer any other questions that you may have. I have a strong disagreement with Mr. Mayall's representation that this could be an attendance boundary limited school. I consulted with our school board attorney. I have the statute here with me today. There is no ability to make this a restricted attendance boundary school. The boundaries, as you heard, of this attendance boundary school have to be so broad and so wide that they become irrelevant as a neighborhood school. Only a public school can have a restricted attendance boundary in this county. And I'm more than willing to have your village's attorney's opinion, which is consistent with our school board attorney's opinion, against Mr. Mayall's opinion on behalf of his client. We're building a quality K-8 in a good neighborhood. It's going to be a good quality school. And we're building a quality magnet high school so that there's a seamless, high-quality education in this community. We would very much like an opportunity to get started on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in light of Ms. Greer's statement calling into question my own legal opinion on this issue, may I introduce into the record a copy of a school board-approved charter school contract establishing an attendance zone within a 4-mile radius of a charter school. I can introduce that into the record. And if I may ask you to ask your city attorney for his reading of our proposed condition, just to set that issue to bed.
Let me tell you what we're going to do. We got some people standing to be heard, and I'm going to allow them each no more than a minute, and I'm going to call the question, and we're going to move on. We got a long agenda, and we have talked about this to death. We need to vote on it and move on. I think pretty much the decision has been made up here on how these council members are going to vote.
Mr. Mayor, again, we would renew our offer to defer the matter to allow Ms. Garner to participate in the hearing at a later time.
Well, let's.
Mr. Mayor, there actually is a motion on the floor. There was the first and a second on the motion to defer.
I'm sorry. I need to give Mr. Lassner and the others an opportunity to say.
Sure, but I'm saying
before we vote.
Right. I'm just saying that there is a motion to defer on the floor.
Yeah.
Michael Ladner, general partner for M&H Homestead. Rather than what Ms. Greer said about the issue for me is, do we want a higher quality school for less than half the price, operating probably 2 years before the school district completes it, their school? And I think that's what we're trying to do, is the quality of these children. The education of these children is what I'm concerned about, as well as everything else. But my God, why wouldn't you want to have a school where you had better teaching and cheaper? They can take $45 million and put it in their pocket, and we'll come in and build the school. Why doesn't that work for everybody? They're afraid of charter schools, is basically what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Honorable Mayor, and Honorable Council. Forgive me, I was on my boat, and I remembered, oh my goodness, no watch, I better come running right over here. I don't trust builder-developers, so I'm not friendly to the builder-developer, although they built my house and they did a great job. Before I happened to take their position on this thing, before I came from Kendall, we had 3 schools, and they were one A school and I don't know what the senior high school, and they were all together. And the funny thing about it is, you pay $380,000 for like a 1.5. You couldn't. The value of the homes in the area, I'm a homeowner there, would be so high if we had an A school. I admire Miss Greer, tremendously, and she's obviously super educated and a great and dedicated person, but just as a normal person, if it's been 5 years and we still have F schools, maybe give the opportunity for somebody to have, an A school, because we have a lot of vacancies all over the county, all over the Keysgate, and you can blow wind through there. Nobody wants to buy. If you go drive down, and as I do to Audubon Plaza, where my kids go every day, go there by the high school. It looks pretty tough. The way the guys and girls are in the street. Then go down Keysgate, and it looks like, uniforms and everything like that. You get a kind of a different feeling. If we put a public school there, and I have no doubt that it would be great, but I heard a lot of promises, and I've seen the action. If we put a school there, we're going to be surrounded by lower quality. The safety issue, the whole place, I've been since 10 years old here, the whole Florida is built with those trees decaying. We haven't gotten sick. The urgency now is we have no high schools. Bo, CEO, my neighbor of Homestead, Baptist Hospital, they move out because we have no high school that is commensurate with what we really need. I think that just by letting them have the opportunity to fight.
Mr. Khan, time is up.
That's my time?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going by the clock, I'm sorry. Can I finish my one thought? Go ahead. Thank you, Your Honor. You may. The opportunity to fight to get an A school will benefit us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger Trujillo, 220 Northeast 12th Avenue. I'd like, after I'm done, Ms. Greer to tell us why not Oasis. I know we're focusing on this, but why not Oasis? Why not 2 schools? Let us have a choice. One for free, and the one that we're going to have to pay for because we're going to pay taxes on this.
Both of them will be free now.
On the other site. Okay? And I'm going to save the rest for later. Thank you.
Thank you.
1400 Southeast, 23rd Drive, Angel Lazo. I would like to say that I've been a critic of the EFPD from the get-go. So when the mayor, with all due respect, I went downtown, and you were there as well, to combat the EFPD because the Villages of Homestead residents were fine with it as long as we were paying the taxes in Keysgate, and they could go for free because there was no boundary on the EFPD either. So there have been opponents to the EFPD. I'm glad it went down in a blaze of glory. I hope it doesn't resurrect once it's public school, if it is a public school, the non-charter public school gets built, because us in Keysgate don't want to foot the bill for the rest, including the Villages of Homestead students, to go to school. That is unfair, and especially when taxes are getting cut, and now they're looking for more money. So it's disingenuous for Ms. Greer to come here and promise us more a quality school. You know, she specifically speaks about the quality of the building. What about the quality of the education? You have 5 schools in this area, F everywhere. You talk to anybody. I work in Doral. People, you say Homestead, you're like, Homestead, oh my God, you have a gun? I'm like, no, Homestead is a really nice place to live. Yes, it is. I moved here in 2003, and I mean, I just finished moving, and the first thing I do is go downtown to fight taxes that you approved for the people in Keysgate. Of course, it was very nice and dandy because we were the ones that were going to pay for it. So anyway, 5 more schools of F. You haven't spoken about grades. You're very concerned about the building, but not concerned about the grading. It's all an F school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lazo.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. My name is Jim Tramp. I'm on the 2375 Southeast 7th Place. Just a couple of points that, while I'm sitting here, come to me, and it's kind of interesting. If I had been a little further down the line, by the time this group came back again, we'd have a K-3 school there. You know, this has gone from a K-12 to a K-10 to a K-8 just tonight. Just while we're standing here. And it went from school uniforms can't be worn any place in the city, or the kids will be thrown out of school. All these kind of things are nonsense. And I said to myself, why is it so important to get this to be a charter school? Because it's a for-profit charter school, folks. You put a K-8 charter school there, and they'll be back in a couple more years to get the rest of the grades because that's 39 acres, and they're not going to put 800 kids on 39 acres. That doesn't pay, doesn't make economic sense. So I'm asking you tonight to vote for this tonight and vote it down. Because, quite frankly, there are other places to put charter schools because we've already done it and they work on smaller pieces of property. But we don't want a K-12 on that property for any reason at any time. Thank you.
Charles Fritz, 2800 Augusta Drive. The thing I'm asking you to vote no on an ordinance that I don't know what it says, because if you read the ordinance that was presented to you tonight and what they've withdrawn and what they've left, what they've left is provided for the dedication providing for land dedicated for public purposes to be used for operating a charter school. What land does that mean? I've heard 13 acres, I've heard 39 acres, I've heard something else, and then the rest of the sentence says, providing for changes in school acreage. Okay, are they leaving that in there, that they're going to get to reduce the 39 acres down to some other number?
I mean, there's been no commitment on anybody. In other words, the ordinance you're passing, I don't know what it is. Because this language doesn't make any sense for what you're being asked to vote on tonight. So somebody needs to come up with the language that you're actually proposing to vote on so that we can comment on that language. Because the language here makes no sense for what they're asking for. What you're voting in, if you strike everything else and just leave it, what have you got? So again, I don't think the ordinance is worded properly for you to be able to vote either way tonight, except to vote it down or defer it. Thank you.
And that's why my recommendation, we reject it and start all over, because I agree with you. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Tim Craig. I live at 1865 Southeast 20th Avenue. For identification purposes only, I'm also the elected president of the Shores Homeowners Council. I'm the elected delegate for the Shores to the Keysgate Community Association. We have over 700 homes in the Shores. We have over 2,000 individuals. I attended the workshop on Thursday. I thought it was a very impressive presentation. I thought there were two extremely important points that were made. One was that we had a commitment from the charter school that would be open by August 2008. I have not seen a written commitment from the county. I'd like to see that. Secondly, as Mr. Ladner pointed out, that if this charter school is built, that leaves $45 million for the county to build other schools. I think that'd be fine. Vice Mayor Losner and Councilwoman Bell have made fine points. I won't go over them. I do not understand why anyone would vote to limit discussion. This provides options. If you vote down this first reading, you're ending discussion. Why are people afraid of discussing this? I urge you to vote in favor of approving this first reading. Thank you.
May I just have 1 minute for rebuttal?
What about 30 seconds? We need
30 seconds. Actually, I'll just to clarify the point that the second to last gentleman made about what is it that we're requesting. We're not reducing the acreage for schools. The approved plan, 2001 approved plan, calls for 22 acres. Through a DCA process that Chad can brief you on, those 22 acres were increased to a total of 39 acres, which is a school park at school. That's what's before you tonight. The request is simply to modify the language to allow charter schools as another option for any school site within the DRI. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion to defer. Madam Clerk, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
No.
Councilwoman Waldman?
No.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
No.
Mayor Warren?
No.
Question, Mayor.
Motion carries.
I need clarification about when you said that the city had options inside the DRI to approve charter schools.
Sure. The difference is that under the current situation, a charter school is a business, and the Keysgate Charter School, if it wanted, could pack up and leave tomorrow. It's a business. If it's not doing well, they can leave. What this is proposing to do, this change, is proposing to now say that there would be a restricted covenant on the property that would mean that if the charter school were to pack up and leave or could close for any reason, that property would still only be used for a school. So what I said before is that any charter school can come into the DRI if it's a permitted use in that area, and they can build a charter school. The only caveat is that charter school, like the Keysgate Charter School, could go away and not be there in perpetuity. And that's the reason why the current charter school in Keysgate is not shown as a school on the master plan, because that particular school wouldn't satisfy the developer's requirement to mitigate the school impacts, because that school could go away. And that's the easiest way I can explain it to you. So, of course, a charter school could come in and apply, and if it's permitted, could be built within the DRI. But at this point in time, unless the particular charter school were to proffer a covenant restricting the land, that property could be used for any other use that's permitted.
Hospital use considered appropriate?
I think that we'd have to look at that. I think it's something we need to look at. I haven't had a chance to look at the documents and see.
What prevents the charter school operator from negotiating with the school board and asking them to use that site for a charter school? Because they got to go through them anyway.
Right.
Nothing precludes them from negotiating with Evelyn and her colleagues on the school board, asking them to use that site for charter school. Is there any reason why that couldn't be done?
Well, Evelyn could probably talk to you about that as well as me, but as you may all recall, the second and third schools within the EFBD where they had the option to actually be owned in fee simple title of underlying land by the school board, but if the school board chose, they could allow a charter school to operate the actual... They can't allow it. That was underneath the EFBD agreement, which is no longer in effect.
There's no agreement. I mean,
right.
They can do that today if the school board agrees.
At the pleasure of the school board, I would think so.
Oh, okay.
But I don't want to speak for them, but I can tell you it shows precedent that they would do it underneath the agreement, so they could do it. Yeah, so they could do it in the future.
Just so we know, and we've made much ado about the hospital site as an alternative site. I can't pick it out on the map. Where, can you guide us to where the hospital...
Town Center Boulevard all the way to Kingman. It's on one of the back pages.
It's not shown on the master plan in your documents because it was proposed to be eliminated.
It's here.
Here we go, I see it on Exhibit C, the second to the last fold-out page. It says hospital, 13 acres. It's on Kingman Road and Town Center Boulevard. It is, I guess it lies between Keysgate Charter School and the vacant property. Is that correct?
No, that's not.
No, it's here.
The charter school is just about where the number 11 is. It's on, okay, if you look here, Exhibit C, second to the last map. It's right here, between the 10 and the 11.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the applicant is showing you a map.
This is north of the charter school.
Yes, north of the existing Keysgate Charter School.
Right.
Now, does the council have the authority to designate that site as a school site?
No.
But we have the authority to make a recommendation to the school board to designate that site, correct?
No.
Actually, if the applicant were to process an NOPC to change the designation as a school site, they could always do that. But it would be the
Speak louder, I'm sorry.
If the applicant chose to file an NOPC to change the designation, they always could do that.
They can do that.
Just like we had earlier tonight, that they were changing designations on other pieces of property within the DRI.
Thank you.
There's always that option.
But we would have to initiate that application.
Correct.
How hard is that?
If that's not what the applicant wishes to do, it's pretty hard.
So sad.
We need to move on. We got a long agenda. Do you have a motion?
There is a motion for approval.
We have a motion to approve.
That's on the table now, motion to approve.
Who made that motion?
I did, and the vice mayor seconded for discussion.
About 3 hours ago.
Can you read what the motion is? A motion to approve. We had a motion there?
The school site.
For discussion.
Before you
gave the provision.
Just, the motion was to allow the developer to use the available property to go and fulfill the needs of the school board, the requirement of the school board.
A school site would also be a charter school. Could be fulfilled by a charter school
They
site.
can put in a non-for-profit, the property, the original
Mayor, it says in the NOPC, providing for land dedicated for public purpose to be used for operating charter schools, providing for changes that in school acreage. That's what it says.
Let's move on with the roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
I'm first.
Can the clerk repeat the motion one more time? Because we have a motion and a second. This was to...
For the original request from the applicant to remove everything but only keep the
the portions that are
Right,
designated on the school.
Right.
Yes. Okay, and the motion was made by Councilman Porter, seconded by Vice Mayor Losner.
And do we need to address the proffers that were made by the applicant to limit it to K through 8, and the comments that I made as to the timing?
If the motion passes, it would be our intent to come back to you to a second reading with those assurances.
Mayor, there's a 3-3 vote here right now. So whatever motion gets put on the table, 9 times out of 10 is not going to pass.
That is correct.
So we need to be, there may not be a passage of a denial or an approval, and any motion that fails is actually, it goes away. So we're in a tight spot here.
Okay.
I see a 4-2 unless
Would you like me to proceed? Okay. Councilman Hodge?
No.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
No.
Councilwoman Waldman?
No.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
No.
Motion denied.
All right, moving right along, Mr. City Attorney.
May I interrupt you just for one moment?
Let's let three people clear out.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, moving right along.
James, can I just say one thing? I'm sorry. Quiet down.
Yeah, everything's good.
Mayor, motion to extend past 10 o'clock.
Properly moved, there's a second. Second. To extend. Properly moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I don't know.
They need to take
I gotta go get some water.
Mayor, it needs to be to a time certain.
10:25.
If I could have your attention, please. I just want to say to all you folks that came out for the park appreciation and the presentation on the trailway, which I've already sent most everybody home because this just went on way too long. It'll be brought up at the next council meeting. But I wanted to make a special thank you. We have a representative from Mayor Alvarez's office that came particularly for support of the trailway, and that's Mr. Chris Hemmel. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming and setting all this time and then it not to happen. I just chose that it would be better to do it at another council meeting, and I'm very sorry because all the people, all the folks were here. I also wanted to thank Congressman Diaz-Balart for sending out Miguel Otero. He was here until just a few minutes ago, and many others in the audience. So thank you. I hope you come back, Chris, okay? And we appreciate your support for the trailway. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Can we get to it?
Mayor, I'm sorry, the motion to extend the meeting to a time certain was...
Yeah, it was voted. Yeah, we said
It was voted, but not to a time certain.
Want to go to 11?
Oh, God.
let's say 11. We can do by 11.
11 o'clock.
I may not make it at that time.
Have you passed yet?
I've been in bed sick.
Mr. Mayor, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along, the final item in your quasi-judicial agenda is item 7C. This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of 33030 Realty Partners, LLC, for a rezoning from General Use G and Restricted Retail Commercial District B1 to the Retail Commercial District B2 for property legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
I'll move first reading.
Moved by Mr. Porter, first reading. The second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hodge. Any comments from council?
Mayor, question?
Ms. Garner?
For the applicant?
Good evening, Dick Hoker representing the applicant.
Thank you. When I was looking at this, I was wondering why you needed to go to B2, seeing as that's a higher level, and when I B1, B1A, professional office, and things like that. When I think of B2, I think of a more intense use.
Well, you actually have three major business zoning districts: B1, B2, B3. B3 being the most intense.
Right.
B2 being the middle intensity for a community-based shopping center. This is exactly what this site is. This is about a 6-acre site. The site plan that follows this is about 46,000 square feet, which is exactly defined as a community shopping center. The B2 zoning district gives the range of uses that are appropriate for the community-based shopping center. I think your staff has recommended approval, as this is the type of zoning that provides the range of uses necessary for that shopping center.
Well, I wouldn't consider B2 the middle, seeing it, because we have B1A, which is stricter. I would consider B2 more towards the heavier use. And when I think of B2, which allows auto sales and service stations like that, I really wouldn't want something like that surrounded by residential. To me, that doesn't fit the area. So I wanted to know what it is that you needed for B2 that couldn't be accommodated by B1, because I'd be comfortable with B1.
Okay. There are a range of uses. I don't have a comparison of those uses there, but what we have done in the past to address that specific issue is to eliminate from the B2 voluntarily automobile service-related uses, which appears to be, in the other rezonings that I've done, appears to be the only objection that anyone has ever had to the B2 zoning district. And so we would offer that, to remove the automobile service uses from the B2, and we'll do that more formally between first and second reading.
Okay, and that would clear up my concerns.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? Well, let me open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That completes your quasi-judicial items this evening. Moving on to item 8, which is your legislative matters. Tab 16, 8A is a second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city's fiscal year budget beginning October 1, 2006, and ending September 30, 2007 by increasing both the revenue and expenditure budget by $17,951,662, providing for severability and effective date. This is second reading.
Moved by Mr. Porter, the second. Second by Mr. Hodge. Any question on the second reading? Any questions? I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner? Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 8A2 is a second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the Community Redevelopment Agency's fiscal year budget beginning October 1, 2006 and ending September 30, 2007 by increasing both the revenue and expenditure budget by $2 million, providing for severability and effective date. This is second reading.
Offer motion, Mayor.
Offered by Mr. Hodge, second by Mr. Porter. Any comments from council? Any comments from council? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
No comment. Brian Judge, 260 Northeast 10th Street. Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to comment on this. It looks like we're at the final reading on the final hearing on this. I know it's been, it's been maybe a month and a half. And first off, we've yet to hear from the representative from the Southwest District on this. So I'd like to hear what they think on the project. And second of all, it looks like the ordinance here is to approve the money for it, but it's all about buying the property. So I'd like to see you have a CRA. I'd like to see you have the CRA develop a plan for this property, and we look at the plan, get comments from community, and see if it's going to be something workable before you actually do this. So I just don't think it's appropriate to buy this property willy-nilly and hope that something's going to come of it, because even looking at the property, it's been a couple years and it hasn't been able to be developed yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Judge.
Thank you.
Mr. Hodge?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, Mr. Judge, what has happened is, even before I was elected, the eyesore of the shotgun houses was a task that had been on the agenda to work upon. We was trying to work with the current owner to see if we can create some form of development. That current owner is a for-profit organization and not a non-profit, so it precludes them from being able to access different grant dollars and funding to help provide an affordable housing and development. And it's all about redevelopment, and the CRA has the ability to do that. I mean, the CRA has the ability to actually purchase the property and lower the cost to a developer that can come in and sell the homes at a lower rate to create some form of affordable housing. The major impact of the whole process is not only creating an affordable housing project, but upgrading the living conditions of those particular homes that are there. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're basically 500, 400 square foot wooden buildings, and it's something you and I probably wouldn't want to live in unless we really had to. So the goal there is to eliminate the eyesore, and with the strength of the CRA having the ability to be more flexible with creating additional funding to be able to create something. So where the traditional developer couldn't create development, the CRA has that ability through its flexibility in the laws and the usage of those dollars. So basically what's happening with this ordinance is basically we're borrowing the money from the city, because the CRA and the city is two different entities. We're borrowing the money from the city to go ahead and act upon it in lieu of a sale that we're going to have with the baseball, not the baseball, stuck on the baseball stadium, but on the bowling alley, so that and when that sale, we will pay the city back with interest those dollars, because the dollars that we get from the bowling alley has to go. There's CDBG money, so it has to be used for CDBG projects, and this would be the ideal project in upgrading the infrastructure that's there and bettering the housing conditions. Is that good enough? Or you want to put me on the spot again?
Mayor, Mr. Hodge through.
Mr. Porter?
Were you through, Mr. Hodge?
Mr. Hodge, you finished?
Yes, I'd just like to say for the record that, supporting this has been a long-term commitment to a community that's been left behind. There was some dialogue at a previous council meeting when we discussed this, and I think the CRA director had made some sort of position that maybe you need to go to 20 units per acre. That does not necessarily mean by supporting this that we support his vision of a 20 units per acre. But there's something needs to be done in this area. This needs to be cleaned up and put to some sort of use in the proper development to get that substandard housing off that area. And it's been a commitment of the council for a very, very long time. This is the first opportunity that we've had to be able to make an investment in the housing component of the Southwest. So, Mr. Stouts, I don't necessarily agree with the 20 units per acre vision that you proffered last meeting, but I certainly do agree that we need to buy this property, demolish that material that's on there, and start afresh. So I support that. Thank you, Mayor.
And Mr. Stout, how quickly could we demolish those? Once this is approved, what kind of time frame?
We'll have to go out.
I certainly want to be there. We need to have a celebration.
Well, instead of a groundbreaking, we'll have a sledgehammer swinging.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go out to bid. The cost of this is going to be such that it's over the limit that can be done without going out to bid. So we're going to have to go out to bid. So it's going to be 60 to 90 days before they can be taken down, just as a matter of getting it done.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? I've opened up for public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Mr. Judge, thank you for your input. If not, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
No.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Baldwin?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item 8.3, tab 18. This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 15, Housing Standards, Article 1 in general by providing a definition of family and providing that no more than one family may inhabit any dwelling unit. Amending Chapter 30, Zoning, Article 1 in general to revise the definition of family to provide for consistency with Chapter 15, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Motion.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Mr. Hodge. Any comments from council?
Mayor.
Ms. Garner?
Thank you. Real quick, just for the audience, I wanted to let them know that council was concerned about too many people living in one unit, overcrowding of houses, which was a health safety issue. So we've changed the definition of family, which used to be pretty much anybody living under one roof. Now it's specific, so that it's an individual or two or more persons related to one another by blood, marriage, or adoption, or no more than 5 unrelated people. So this gives code enforcement some teeth. They can go out there and enforce that, and this will help us. This is a tool for them.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item 8.4, this is tab 19. This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code by amending Chapter 16, License Tax and Businesses, to conform with recent revisions to Florida Statute Chapter 205 by changing the term occupational license and business license to local business tax receipt, making conforming amendments to other affected provisions of the City Code, including Sections 2-411, 3.8, 3.10, 3.11, 637, 653, 740, 1953, 19105, 23.5-1, 23-46, 27-13, 27-47, 27-48, 27-49, 27-50, 27-52, 27-79, 30-1, 30-45, 30-241, 30-256, 30-531, and 30-534, clarifying and amending provisions to conform with applicable law, enhancing certain enforcement provisions, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Bills. A second? Second by Councilwoman Garner.
Mayor?
Ms. Garner?
Real quick, I just wanted to explain, this is amending to the state statutes, and the state felt that if someone were given a license, it misled people to think that they were actually able to do the work. So they changed the term, so now people get a receipt instead of a license when they pay for this tax. And we're just updating to the state statutes. That's why it's under so many parts of our code.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 8.5, tab 20 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code by amending Chapter 28, Utilities, Article 7, Electricity, Division 4, Electric Distribution, by amending Section 28.292, Application Fee, Section 28.294, Fees for Processing the Application, and Section 28.320, Electric Line Extension Policy and Procedure, in order to increase the fees for certain administrative and other work required for the provision of electric utility services, including application fee, application processing, and line extension policy and procedure fees, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
Move it, Mayor.
Moved by Councilwoman Bills. A second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Porter.
Comment.
Comment, Ms. Bell?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that the citizens know that this is not any cost to the citizens. This is pretty much a pass-through to recoup its fees for developers, when electric is brought online. This has nothing to do with passing fees on to the citizens. It's a cost recovery, actually. That's all it is.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to tab 21, this is item 8.6. This is the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Chapter 28 Utilities, Article 3 Sewers, Division 5 Service Rates and Charges by creating paragraph D of Section 28-141 Rate Schedule to provide for a charge for properties which fail to connect to the sanitary sewer system of the city when required to do so, amending Chapter 28 Utilities, Article 4 Water and Sewer Connection, Division 1 generally, at Section 28-157 Failure to comply with connection requirement by amending that section to conform with Section 28-156, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Is there a motion for approval?
So move, Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hodge. Any comments from council? This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item 8.7, tab 22. This is an ordinance of the first reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, providing for a 4-month extension to the 24-month building moratorium enacted by ordinance number 2005-0731 and amended by ordinance 2006-0833 on the issuance of certain development orders and development permits within the Northwest neighborhood, generally located west of US 1 to the western boundary of the city and north of Maury Drive to the northern boundary of the city as shown on Exhibit A, exempting specified single-family detached residential, commercial, office, industrial, and other specified uses, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Any questions?
Comment.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
As I stated in our last meeting, when we adopted the concepts, the principles of the Northwest Master Plan, the purpose of this extension is to allow us to draft and enact the ordinances that will implement that plan. That's the sole purpose of this extension.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to tab 23, this is item 8.8. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Homestead and the Homestead 50 Community Development District, CDD, concerning the construction of certain off-site water and sewer improvements and certain roadway improvements to Maury Drive, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Offer motion.
Offer by Mr. Hodge. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Mr. Porter.
Just one comment.
Mr. Porter?
In the past, there was a question, I think early on the CDD, it was unclear if there was proper notification that they were buying into an area where they had into a special taxing district. And I'm going back way to Waterstone 1 or whatever, but just make sure that there's proper notification that the people that move into the Homestead 50 are being assessed a special assessment so that they can pay for their own impacts. If I remember correctly, there was a little bit of a confusion early on. People said, "Oh, we didn't know there was a CDD." Well, we just want to make sure that they get notified so that they don't come back and complain to the council, what is this special tax for?
I think there's a county ordinance that very specific to.
I know, but just for the record.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Mike Pavelchik. I'm with the law firm of Billing Cochran. I am district counsel for the Homestead 50 Community Development District. This district is a little different than the one that I think you're referring to. Now there is when the ordinance is passed approving the district, a declaration of restrictive covenants is filed. It's mandated, it's recorded by the county before the district is formed, and that restrictive covenant requires the developer to notify the initial purchaser, number one, pursuant to state statute, and number two, to provide them with a copy of the exhibit which is attached to that declaration of restrictive covenants and sets forth the maximum debt service and maximum administrative assessments that would be imposed upon that incoming initial purchaser. And that's a recorded document, so even the second and third purchaser, when someone else comes in, we hope that their attorney or their broker will advise them that these covenants are
on the property.
Can the initial purchaser pay out the entire requirement of the CDD?
He can pay out the debt service. So if, let's say, the debt service is, he's going to pay, I don't know, $1,000 a year. If that usually equates to about, $28,000 or something like that for a 30-year period, he can pay that off right away. The administrative assessment, which is usually, it depends on what the maintenance is. It can be anywhere from $18 to, $100. But that governs the operation of the district. Pays for legal counsel, the district engineer, aquatic maintenance if they have lakes that they're maintaining. So it really depends on the particular district. So
I just want to make sure that there's clear notification, because early on some people weren't really advised that they could pay it all up front and forego that long interest and that high interest over time.
Actually, the interest is relatively low, and if I were an attorney, I would counsel somebody that the only way you would pay off that initial assessment up front, because the interest rate is relatively low, would be if you intend to stay there for 30 years. Otherwise, if you're going to be there for 5 years, why would you pay off 25 years of debt that you're not really responsible for? But that's a choice that the individual homeowner can make.
Just questions that were asked to me previously, so I'm comfortable with the whole concept.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there's any questions regarding the interlocal agreement, I can answer them, or Alberto Herrera is here. He is the district engineer. So.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to tab 24, item 8 to 9 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a transportation proportionate fair share agreement between the City of Homestead and San Remo Homes, LLC, concerning the construction of certain signal improvements to the intersection of Southwest 344th Street and Southwest 162nd Avenue, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any comments from council? Any comments? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Any comments from the audience? Any comments from the audience?
I have one clarification, Mr. Mayor. I was informed by staff that the name San Remo Homes, actually LLC,
It's San Marino Homes at Homestead, LLC.
So we'll make that clarification in the resolution title.
Thank you. Mr. Shiver?
Yes, Steve Shiver, 47 North Chrome Avenue for the applicant. Just making sure that this, again, thanks to your staff, Sherry Kamali and others for working with us on this project. It's nice to get to a point where we're able to be pleased with paying money for mitigation. I mean, if I said that right, I hope, Sherry. It's been fun. But I'd like to make sure that, for the record, that we have satisfied our mitigation requirements. This does take care of all of the requirements that are asked by the city. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
The proportionate fair share agreement that's in your packet does contemplate that this is satisfaction of your transportation concurrency requirements.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Shiver. Any other comments from the audience? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Porter?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bell?
Yes.
Councilwoman Garner?
Yes.
Councilman Hodge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Losner?
Yes.
Mayor Warren?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any public comments at this time? Any public comments at this time? You got 1 minute. Nice. 1 minute.
Turn the mic on, Mike.
I'm sorry. Mike Taylor, 1480 Northeast 10th Street, Homestead. Everybody talking about F schools, F schools, F schools. I want everybody to know that it's not, you might have 1,000,001 F school, but not all the students are F students. My son graduated from a F school.
1 minute.
I got you, 1 minute. I'm a coach too. I got my stopwatch. Hiram Farmer,
I live 2646 Southeast 21st Court, Homestead, Florida, Keys Gate. I've been here before. I'm coming to you tonight on behalf of Covenant Missionary Baptist Church. We were having our first annual Back to School extravaganza and explosion in August, and we're asking for your support. It's something that we're opening up to the entire community. It's not just based with the church. I have a letter here that each one of you can look at. It'll be very brief.
That's not this.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Any other public comments? If not, then move on. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I've reduced my comments to 4 items. I can't.
1 minute.
That's 15 seconds an item.
I'm taking my time now. I have 2 items on emergency purchases. One of them is with Homestead Energy Services. Emergency services timing is such for the Renaissance substation and the wiring, the getaways out of there, that it would probably be a delay by 2 months if we wait. Have to go to COW, go back to council to get the wiring and get that started, and there's a change order on that, and that's what, is that a change order? No, it's just a request to get Renaissance going, and to go through the regular bid process is going to take us 2 months. So they've got quotes as opposed to the bids, and they'll go with the lowest quote on the items of getting out.
Do we need to approve it?
Sorry, sir?
We need to approve it?
Yes, sir. I'll move. It's above my. I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Porter, a second?
I'll say.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Move forward with the substation.
The second item is the fiber.
No, let us vote on it. Then properly moving second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, go ahead.
The second item is a repair, also emergency repair on fiber optics. We will be reimbursed for this out of a bond. However, we need to go ahead and get the fiber optics repaired that were dug up on Campbell Drive and one other location.
I'll move the request. I'll move the request, Mayor.
Move the request by Mr. Porter, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Third item is I would like to request a special call before the COW July 24th to consider authorize me to sign a contract on the Park of Commerce sale. We have the contract with A&H signature on it.
Finally, good.
We will be emailing you a copy of the contract, and I'll tease out probably the main issues that we see there that you'd be interested in. I'll give you the contract as well through email, and we'll put that together and get it out to you, and request that special call be on the 24th. Last item.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, last item.
Just make sure they get a copy of the...
Yes, I'll send that out to everyone. We want to, we have deobligate an FDOT grant that we had for sidewalks on Southwest 10th, 11th, and 12th Avenue. The amount was $97,764 for the sidewalks. However, as we started looking at that, we needed to relocate our poles, almost every one of them in the area. We also had some encroachment issues, all coming back from when Andrew was there, especially as well as the placement of the poles. It runs the city about $400,000 to get the 97 to do this. So right now, electric utility doesn't have that kind of money to put out toward that project. So we wanted to deobligate that grant and maybe come back and check it later.
Question, Mayor. Can you move the money someplace else, or it's specific to that location?
It was for that specific issue.
That applies to all of those areas. It's an all or nothing.
Well, it's just all of the poles there. I guess after Andrew, when they were hastily putting those things back, they didn't site everything in and survey everything in. So we got some on right-of-way easements and some on encroaching and people encroaching there. So for us to clean that up at this point would cost us a considerable amount of money. So we're spending $400 for $100 at this point.
Any comments?
Well, I would ask, there's no other method of...
At this point, Rick.
We spent significant time doing surveying and looking at that issue. We've got utility poles that are on the edge of the easement, utility poles that are in the middle of the sidewalk. We've got water meters that are just helter-skelter. To relocate the utility poles and the water meters would cost about $175,000 just to do the relocation of those items. And it's just our opinion that as much as we would like to do this project, it's just too expensive at this point in time. The utility service doesn't have the $175,000, and that's a guesstimation of what it would cost to relocate the poles and the water meters, and the CRA can't afford that at this point in time either.
What's the total amount of the grant?
The total amount of the grant was $97,764. And the total amount of the project is $400,000 to put in the sidewalks, move the poles, move the water meters, and that we're anticipating that would also deal with the encroachments, because you've had people who over the years have built fences out into the edge of the right-of-way. You've even got a couple of 4-foot cinder block walls that are people's front patio area, if you will, that's crossed over into the right-of-way that we would have to deal with to tear down and rebuild to do this project.
Is that grant money from some source, from what source?
The $97,000 is grant money from DOT.
You going to have any negative impact on the city and in future funding from DOT?
No. No.
If not, all in favor? Is there a motion to approve the manager's request?
I'll move.
Move by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hodge. Any comments, Ms. Bell? All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Anything else, Mr. Manager?
I would like to congratulate the HR department. They held their health and wellness fair for the employees last Wednesday. Had over 90 employees that taken advantage of all the screening, the blood pressure, glucose screenings, bone density, breath. They just did a real good job. Employees, it was well received by the employees.
But Mayor, I have one complaint about that. They did the body your BMI and your fat level of your body. I have a problem with that. I think it was wonderful. We should do it again, but without that portion.
That's why I refuse.
But I've got some very good comments, Marcy, about it, so job well done. We appreciate it.
It was great.
We really appreciate it.
It was great.
Is that it, Mr. Manager?
That's it, Mayor.
You took more than a minute, but that's okay. Council members, you're limited to a minute. We got to get out by 11 o'clock. Mr. Porter.
Manager took my time, Mayor. No business.
Thank you. Councilman Bell.
Very quickly, I don't want anybody to kill me, but I have been looking at our logo, and I know that we've already put this in to print many items, but I really think we need to reconsider the Air Force jet, the F-16 jet. As I look at this, it just looks empty without the F-16 fighter jet, and I think we should consider putting that back on our logo. Lillian's going to kill me, but I did give her a warning that I was going to bring that up. So I wanted to bring that up. It's beautiful, but I think all we need is a jet going right across. We still are an Air Force town, so I wanted to bring that up for your consideration. For Lillian's consideration.
You need to go back through Ms. Garner if you want to do that.
Well,
for committee.
Okay. That's why I was bringing it up.
Any consideration to put the airplane in that logo? I know you guys have probably spent money already on this thing, so Ms. Bell, I don't know whether you want to go back.
Well, I'm not asking anything be stricken that's already created. Just anything created new would have that in it. So it would not be a financial impact. It would just be from henceforth.
Well, I would recommend that the manager talk to Ms. Garner committee about it, and she think it's
perfect.
Right.
I'll get Lillian to get
That's
back.
Yeah, and then Ms. Garner could bring back a recommendation if
I just wanted to give a quick congratulations to the ribbon cuttings that we attended this week, Balance for Health, Insurance for Less, the Royal Palace Banquet Hall, and just congratulate them. Also, the Waterstone Clubhouse ribbon cutting was excellent, as well as the Lowe's groundbreaking. I also attended the Murder Mystery Tea, sponsored by Main Street and Spellbound Books. That was absolutely phenomenal, and I want to congratulate our community for putting on some top quality events. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you,
That's
Ms. Bell. Mr. Hodge?
Real brief, Mayor. When we signed that Park of Commerce contract, $400,000 for a project for Rick. Thank you.
Call City Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge.
There's going to be some adjustments there, too.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I was it's a pleasure to attend the Miss Florida pageant in St. Petersburg a couple of weeks ago to support our own Miss Homestead, Leslie Spinella, who didn't place, but she did receive the non-finalist talent award, which is very significant. But she did Homestead proud, and I will tell you there was a contingent of probably 50 to 65 people from Homestead, many of whom spent a week over there assisting her, helping her, and supporting her, and that whole organization of the Miss Florida, the scholarship pageant organization here in Homestead is to be commended. Secondly, Mayor, it occurred to me tonight, and I fear that the practical effect and the political intent of tonight's vote on the NOPC was to, in effect, kill any school whatsoever being placed on that site adjacent to the villages of Homestead. Please allay my fears and use your relationship with Dr. Crew to have him come down here and stand at that podium in a public meeting with us, or send somebody with power to bind him and speak with authority and give us the straight news on what they are and are not willing to do. His letters tell me very clearly we're not building on that site, particularly when you couple it with the developer and the owner of that site telling us we do not, cannot, will not deliver that site according to the requirements of the DRI. Yet we have others who want to indicate that, yes, something's going to happen. I'd like to hear it, no disrespect intended, I'd like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth as to what hoops need to be jumped through in order to get a school on that site, or have you and your majority, in effect, gone back on 40 years of promises to this community to get more schools when it should have been no secret to anybody that that's been designated as a school site for years and years and years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. And I'm pleased that you brought that up, because what I will do is communicate with Dr. Cruz's office and have him to come. And he's willing to come to Homestead to talk about future schools in Homestead. We want to do that and want to get our input. And one thing he don't want to do is put something there that we don't want. And I think in his letter to us, he said he's ready and willing to discuss with the citizens of Homestead what kind of schools, what curriculum, what activities that we want in Homestead. He's more than willing to do that, and I deliver that message to him. I have two items on the agenda. The appointment of Mr. Steve Mainzer to the Human Relations Board.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Porter. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hodge. Any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the appointment of Clara Waterman Powell to the Historic Preservation Board.
Move approval.
Moved by Mr. Porter, second by Mr. Hodge. Any questions on Ms. Powell? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And thank you all so very much for coming out. The meeting is adjourned.